Saturday to you. Here I is. Yeah, buddy. I've been talking about it, and I've been talking about it, and now it's time to talk about these damn Pistons and these damn Bulls once and for all. We gonna get it all out in the open. We gonna put it out there. Y'all gonna hear what it is. You gonna hear what it's about, and that's gonna be it. We gonna go ahead and talk about the damn. We gonna do the damn thing on tonight. So, without further ado, let's get ready to rumble. All right, here we go. My favorite part of the show.
Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use and is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107.
Very good. Okay, so let me first say this. If you was ever a Chicago Bulls fan or Detroit Pistons fan or just a basketball connoisseur, a lover of the game, this is where you want to be. If you know somebody that is a basketball guy, a Michael Jordan fan, a Michael Jordan hater, a Detroit Pistons fan, if you're from Detroit, you're from Michigan, you're from Chicago, you're from Illinois, now is the time to rep your city and to rep your team and bring forth the basketball passion and knowledge that you possess. All right? Because what we about to do tonight is we're going to really look at this whole rivalry thing. Everybody has been talking about the Bulls lately because of the Last Dance documentary, which is, in my opinion, just a fucking masterpiece. Why? Because they talking about my Chicago Bulls, and they talking about the GOAT, Michael Air Jordan. Yes, indeed. And everybody has been talking about this whole Bulls and Pistons thing. Now, I've heard a lot of different things. I've seen a lot of different things. I got a couple of videos here that I want to show you. But what I want to get resolved tonight is number one of the things I want to clear up. This whole thing about the Bulls being made by the Pistons, I ain't with that. This whole thing about it took the Pistons to make the Bulls who they were, bullshit to the back. That's bullshit, Lotto. Were the Detroit Pistons good? Hell yeah, they were. They were good enough to win not one, but 2 championships. They were a good team. They were a great team. They had great players. I personally, if I had to pick a player on the Pistons that was my favorite, it would be probably Joe Dumars. Joe D was cold as hell to me. Now Isaiah, all right, can't knock him, can't knock the hustle on him. Yes, he's a great player, one of the greatest of all time. Absolutely. He was tough, he had game, all of that. As far as the rest of the team, them being great, like your Bill Lambiers and all them, not so much. That's just me. But be that as it may, all I want to clear up is, number one, the Pistons didn't make the Bulls. They didn't make the Bulls become the great team that they were. The Bulls were already great. It was just the addition of some key players and them getting literally physically stronger is what got them through that whole thing. And this whole thing to where they're trying to say that the Pistons was old when the Bulls won. The Pistons had just came off of their second championship. And they had just demolished the Bulls that previous year for the championship. So how the fuck they went from being the number one team in the country, greatest team in the world, fresh off an NBA championship, to being old once the Bulls swept their ass? I don't know. But I've been hearing the old phrase thrown around quite a bit because there were several people on that team that went on to play for several years that were really good players. One of them was even a great player. Dennis Rodman, arguably the greatest rebounder of all time, one of the greatest defenders of all time. Not only did he continue to play, but the motherfucker continued to play and won 3 more championships. And then after that, went and played on another championship team with the Spurs, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, I don't understand how the Bulls, when they swept the Pistons, they got old at that point. Bullshit. The Pistons, had it not been for the Bulls whooping that ass, they would have went on to win a 3rd championship. Yes or no? Dennis was pretty young. John Sally was young. I mean, who was old? Tell me who was really considered old on that team. Hell, Buddha Edwards was still playing in Utah after all of that shit. Joe Dumars, thank you. Joe Dumars played with Grant Hill. So I don't understand how everybody tries to say that the Bulls got through the Pistons when they got old. I don't get that. I don't. I'm not buying that one. I don't know what the fuck this is in my eye, but it is bothering me. I don't understand that. So yeah, the whole team got busted up after that, and you know why the team got busted up after that? Because they knew they didn't have what it took to beat the Bulls. That's why they broke that team up. That's why they said, well, fuck it. We ain't gonna be able to beat these motherfuckers next year. That's why they broke that team up. And when you look at all the rest of the teams in the East from that championship on, when you look at the good old Cleveland Cavaliers who got their ass destroyed, when you look at the good old-fashioned New York Knicks who got their ass destroyed, they couldn't get enough to stop them Bulls. They just couldn't. The Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen factor had took over. There was no way you were going to beat them unless you had something like a Magic Johnson or Clyde Drexler. If you didn't have one of them key people in the league to go up against these dudes, it was a fucking wrap. Even when they put that half-ass team together with Charles Barkley and them, they couldn't do it neither. The other teams that were out there, the Utah Jazz team, the Seattle Supersonics team, the Trailblazers, they couldn't do it. So yeah, you might as well break the team up. What the fuck would they just kept all those championship players together for and paid them what, a shitload of money to do what? They were not gonna beat them. They just weren't. But my thing is that were they in the peak of their physical capabilities? No. But they were mature enough as a championship team to where they could have won. Had it not been for the Bulls, them dudes could have came back and won at least 2 more championships. Somebody tell me if I'm lying. If it wasn't, just take everybody that's on the Bulls out of the East. Who could have beat them? New York sure as hell couldn't. Cleveland sure as hell couldn't. They would not have been able to beat them Pistons because of the fact that, and no, the Pistons weren't a young team, but they were in that sweet spot to where they were old enough to where they had enough enough chemistry, and they knew each other as a team. They had played together well enough to where they knew who did what and who fit where. They were young enough. I mean, they were old enough to be that mature, and they still had the skill to be able to win. When you have that mental and that physical part, they were still in that part of their careers where they definitely could have won. But good old Michael and his game just could not be denied. And the other thing that I've heard too, as far as the Pistons making the Bulls, I don't understand how a team that beats your ass physically, I'm talking like that's essentially what the Jordan rules was. They physically were just like, hey, and I'm not even hating on that because I think it was Isaiah Thomas that said it, or Jalen Rose, one of them said it. That's the way the league was at that time. It wasn't the Charles Oakley, the Xavier McDaniels, the Anthony Masons, all of them motherfuckers fought back then. You will get your ass whooped. Not talking about hard fouls. No, I'm talking like getting your ass whooped. They literally, it wasn't anything unusual to see a fight. Like today, you see a fight, oh man, it's crazy. Back then, motherfucker, it wasn't shit for a motherfucker to get their ass punched, to get shoved hard, to get, a knee here or a knee there, an elbow to the face. That shit happened. That was a part of the game. I can clearly remember Bill Cartwright always getting the ball, getting the rebound with his elbows up as high as he could, slanging them motherfuckers around. Why? Because he didn't want nobody to try to come get the rebound from him. He didn't want no, and if you came in there trying to get the rebound from Cartwright, you're going to catch that elbow. That's all I'm saying. So, I got the link for the StreamYards. Let me go ahead and put that in the chat here. If I can find it somewhere. There we go. And let me move this. Yeah, there we go. All right. I'm going to put the link in there because I want to hear y'all comments, man. I want to hear what y'all thinking. I want to hear what y'all talking about. And hey, we can get it in. Let me see what he say. Back then, people were catching flagrant fouls on the. You're right. I mean, there was certain. I will never forget. There was a time when Charles Barkley and I want to say it was it not Stacey King? I think it was Scott Burrell, or it was Anderson. Was his name Brian Anderson? Was that the other big man for the Bulls? Young dude. That motherfucker Charles Barkley literally reached up on the floor and grabbed this dude's jersey and ripped it to the point to where his whole back was out. And that whole jersey, the back half of the jersey was literally hanging off of his ass because Barkley just walked up to it and ripped it off of him. And that motherfucker had to keep running up the court with his fucking back out because Barkley had ripped it and they didn't call a foul or nothing. He had to wait till they called a timeout in order for him to get off the court to get a jersey. In a sense, Detroit did make them. It was personal, and the fact that they beat on them, motivated them, and made them the championship team. The documentary gave us that insight. No, this is where you wrong. Let me help you out, nephew. Any team in that case, if you by your logic, as Tommy would say, by your logic, then that means every team the Bulls played made them. Every team the Bulls ever played made them in. And that would be the same for every team. And that's not altogether wrong. It's just a given. What's understood don't need to be explained. To say that one team made them, no. They didn't harden the Bulls. They didn't. The Bulls they were tired of getting physically punished because them niggas was collapsing and elbowing and uppercutting, and that's all they did. So they had to say, well, we got to get a little stronger to go out and do this. They was ready to beat the Pistons the year before. Had Scotty not gotten that migraine, they would have beat them in that game 7. The Pistons didn't blow the Bulls out. So explain that. Scottie Pippen was the only reason why they lost that game 7. And you talking about our number 2 best player. You tell me any other basketball team that loses their number 2 best player and still will win a game 7 against the reigning champions. They would have beat them. If they took them to game 7, thin as hell like that, they would have did it. If Scotty wouldn't have had that migraine, it was on. And the reason why I say that is because what happened the following year? They didn't take them to a game 7. They didn't take them to a game 6. They swept their ass. They swept the Pistons. It wasn't all it was a tough one. It was the last call. That play made them. No, they swept them. Plain and simple. And if you're going to say that the Bulls got made by the Pistons, then that means the Celtics made the Pistons. Then that means the Sixers made the Celtics. You see where I'm going with this? You can go back to every team that lost in there and say, oh, well, they made them. Oh, well, they the ones that made them. No. Another team don't make another team. Because in that case, you would say that, well, had it not been for this team, they wouldn't have never been that good. No. No. You never, and here's why I'm making this point. Now, is the competition level between two teams, are we talking about an iron sharpens iron type of thing? Does it make you compete or play harder? Absolutely. That's the game of basketball, baseball, football. That's sport. That's sportsmanship. All of the baseball teams that my brother and myself and my cousin Tuck that we coached, there were certain teams that we gassed ourselves up for, that we played harder against because of the level of competition. Whether we was talking shit, whether they beat our ass before, it was the level of competition. They didn't make us better. We competed harder because of whatever reasons that we had for that team. You compete against the top team. That's just like saying whoever is the next boxing champion, Mike Tyson, that means that Larry Holmes made Mike Tyson. And you know what's crazy about this? This is the first time I've ever heard this shit. Right, the 49ers made the Bears. Boy, you crazy. Hit the link. You crazy as hell. The 49ers didn't make the fucking Bears. The Bears was the shit from that first game in 85 all the way through the end. A team don't make another team. Can you make a team compete harder? Yes. Can you make a team play harder? Can you have a grudge or a rivalry? Yes. But you don't make another team. Because at the end of the day, had it been up to the Pistons, the fucking Bulls would have never won. Who the fuck let somebody, we're going to make them into a better team so they can beat us? Hell no. You don't do that. What you're talking about is basic competition. What you're talking about is the game of sport. You're talking about sportsmanship. You're talking about competing. It's not another team made this team. Because in that case, how did they make them? They made them tougher. It wasn't toughness that won the game. Them niggas was mentally ready. They was mentally prepared to beat them. They came out and they took them motherfucking pushes. They took them shoves and was like, all right, we gonna keep playing. It's just like Mike Tyson say, everybody got a plan until the motherfucker get hit in the mouth. And once your ass get hit in the mouth, then what you gonna do, that's what matters. And the Bulls literally, they still took a beating in that next series, that next year. When they swept them motherfucking Pistons, they didn't just get there. They didn't just go through there and that was it. Yeah, we just walked through there. It was a cakewalk. They got their ass beat like they did the year before. They were just literally physically prepared for it. So because them niggas had put on an extra 10 to 15 pounds of muscle, you was able to take a few more pushes. You was able to take a few harder fouls. You was able to take that to keep going. They didn't make you do that. Them niggas had to put that weight on. Because they could have been all pumped up and everything. They could have been physically ready and everything. And if them Pistons were a better team, they still could have beat the Bulls. They still could have beat them. Mike and them went through a thing on them boys. They didn't give that shit up. Just like when the Pistons beat the Celtics. They literally beat the Celtics. Defense, offense, that's what it took. That's what it took. It wasn't, we made them tough. That's why they was able to go through us. No. You prepare, yeah, you're right that they prepared different, but still facing that opponent and knowing what it takes to get there is what gets you past them to the championship. They still could have gotten beaten, though. That wasn't just them getting physically, that's the only thing that stopped them was the physicality of the game. That's it. You can prepare and get yourself prepared and be ready and have a game plan and everything. But when you physically getting beat, when you're physically getting hit, that takes a toll on your ass. And if you're not physically ready for that, you ain't gonna make it. Deontay Wilder was a classic example of that. That's just like Deontay Wilder saying, yeah, I made the dude, what's the dude name that beat him? I can't think of his name. The dude that Deontay Wilder just lost to. That's just like Deontay Wilder, that dude is saying, yeah, he made him. No, he did not. He did not make that dude. And they fought before. That dude literally outboxed Deontay Wilder. Just like the Bulls outbat Tyson Fury, thank you. Just like the Bulls outplayed the fucking Pistons. The Pistons didn't win a game. What is you talking about? That's clear domination. Like on Call of Duty, niggas. That's domination. It doesn't matter. I'm not saying it doesn't matter if it's a team sport or not. The point I'm making is another player or your opponent doesn't make you. You compete up against your opponent. Yes, you have a competition level against your opponent, but your opponent don't make you. The Pistons did not make the Bulls. And it's not just only on you and you in the ring. No, you have a boxing trainer. You have a boxing game plan. You have the rules of boxing. You have a particular way that you have to fight, which is tailored to your skills, which is tailored to your skill set. So it ain't just, oh, it's just me and him in the ring at the end of the day. No, you got to know if you need to go to the body first on this cat. You need to know if you need to go to the head. There is an art to boxing. There is a game plan with boxing. Look at Floyd Mayweather. You know why that motherfucker ain't lost? Because he has a game plan. He don't just work out, I'm going to do a bunch of push-ups, a bunch of sit-ups, hit the bag, then when the bell rings, it's just me and him. He don't do that. He goes in, he knows his opponent. He knows his opponent's tendencies. He knows his opponent's weaknesses. He knows where to attack that opponent. He knows what I need to do in order to win. How do I score my points? Am I scoring with a jab, or am I going to score with a hook? Am I going to score with an uppercut, or am I going to score with a cross? That's what he does. Does this opponent favor going to the left, or does he go to the right? That's the same thing with a basketball team. What do they like to do? They like to shoot threes. All right, we need to strengthen up our defense on the perimeter. Well, what do they like to do? They like to go to the post. Okay, we need to make sure we blocking off the passing lanes and keeping the ball from being moved around. What do they like to do? They like to go around on screens, run on screens all day. We need to cut the screens off then. There is a plan that goes along with this. You don't just show up and say, yeah, last year y'all beat us, so this year we're going to beat y'all. You got to have a plan together. You have to have, your team has to play their game. If you go back and look at that series, or even just look at the last game, the Bulls played their game their way, in spite of the elbows, in spite of the hard fouls. That's why they won. And like I said before, that season before, had Scottie Pippen not gotten hurt, not had that migraine, they would have beat them niggas that year, thin and all. Now, the season before that, they beat the shit out of the Bulls. Not just physically, but as a basketball team. The Bulls were not able to compete. They were not able to compete with the Pistons. If you look at that first time that they went up against them Pistons, they weren't able to compete against them dudes. It was literally, goddamn. The Pistons essentially played their game and they did what they wanted to do that whole series. They did. That's how they won. That's how they won. They played their game and they beat their ass. That's it. That next season they came back, we took them to a game 7. It was tit for tat. Physical punishment and all. Getting beat up and all. That's what happened. All right. So let me do this. I'm gonna go ahead and get this young screen together so we can what is that? Smart capture. There we go. So if you want to hit the link, you can, and boom. Let me see if this works. Yep. All right, cool. So yeah, so whenever your audio was also removed, add yourself back using the layout buttons if you want to maximize. Right. So add myself to the stream, and then we'll do the side by side. I think that's what I gotta do. Yeah. Yep. And then when somebody is ready to join in, we can do that. Yep. All right, cool. All right, so the window is there. Okay, cool. That's all I want to make sure of, that we was there. Now, if you want to click the link, you can. It's right there I put it in the chat, and I'll do that again. And it's also, let me switch this and put this over here because I ain't gonna be able to see. There we go. And then I'm gonna put this right here. Close that and close that. Maximize. There we go. All right, I'm gonna put it in there again. Do you agree Frazier brought out the best in Ali? As far as competition, yes. And that's what I was saying before in Degwa. As far as competition, the game of sport, any person that you playing against is gonna bring out your best when you are competing. Yes, that's hands down. Do I think Frazier made Ali? No. I don't. Do you think that Ali made Foreman? Do you think Ali made Foreman? No. Ali outboxed George Foreman. Here and here. Ali said it himself. I knew that I had to do what I did. I had to talk about him. I had to get into his memory, into his mind. I had to get into his mental in order to beat him, because I knew I couldn't just stand in the ring and box him. He would have beat me. Is my sound low? Anybody else? I see Sub-Zero put it up there. Is anybody else saying my sound is low? Because I ain't had that problem in a long time, Sub-Zero. So I don't know if you own a compact Passario computer or something, or if you got a Boost mobile phone and you listen to the show that way, but no. Did Buster Douglas make Tyson? Those were 2 traded losses. Just, okay, think about that. Would you say that he made him? I can turn it up a little bit. How's that? Is that better? Better. Better. Y'all let me know. Traded law, that's what I'm saying. There isn't anything that you can say when you talking about playing against somebody. There is a level of competition that takes place. It's natural. But a player that makes somebody, like, here's my example of a player making somebody. Michael Jordan made Scottie Pippen. Michael Jordan made Scottie Pippen. He made Scottie Pippen the player that he is. Day in, day out, practice, training, physical workouts, the learning the game, all of that. Michael Jordan made Scottie Pippen. So you think about what it took for Scottie Pippen to become the player that he was, playing against Michael Jordan every fucking day at practice. Being on the court with Michael Jordan during every game and every practice. Physically working out in Michael Jordan's house at the gym. That's what made Scottie Pippen who he was today. A fucking 7-game series, a 4-game series, a 6-game series don't make a fucking team. It don't. It can challenge a team. It can bring out a level of competition, but it don't make that team. Because in that case, are you going to say that the next 3 championships that the Bulls won after the first 3-peat? Because you take the first 3-peat and you go to the second 3-peat, different team. So are you going to now say that who made them? The Orlando Magic? Is that what y'all going to tell me based on that logic? The Orlando Magic made the Bulls' next 3-peat run. Thank you. He made Tony Kukoc. That's right. You spelled his name right. So explain that to me. If that's what happened, that's who made that team. Tell me who made LeBron and D Wade and Chris Bosh when they won. What was the team that made them? What team made them? And that's not true, big time. They were all trash when Jordan left. No, sir. No, sir. Actually, when they all left, and even whatchamacallit said it today, Scottie Pippen was arguably the best player in the league. During them 2 years when they was gone, when they almost went to the finals, when they lost in the conference finals to the New York Knicks because of that bullshit ass call that Hugh Hollins made, they almost went that year. So nah. They wasn't trash. They wasn't trash. There go my nephew. Let me see what's up. All right, now what you got to do, nephew, turn off the actual YouTube or mute the YouTube so that we don't hear the reverb.
Man, how did this work?
That's all you
I
good?
don't even know how did this work?
Can you hear me? All right. Oh, wait, I got to add myself to the stream. There we go. All right, can you hear me now, nephew?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, you got to mute the YouTube channel.
Yeah, I'm muted.
Oh, you did? All right, cool. Now let me adjust this joker right here so I can get you all up in the screen now.
Y'all got me on here with my scrappy beard on my
boy,
face.
Everybody's beard is what it is. All right, hold on 1 second. I thought I was going to have to do it this way. Yeah. Yep. And bam. There you go. All right, here we go. So go ahead, nephew. Explain your point of view. I'm gonna let you have the flow first. Go ahead.
So what I'm saying when it comes to making the team is that if they don't play Detroit and they don't lose back to back, right? They got demolished that first year, took it to 7 when it wasn't supposed to go to 7. But Scottie having that migraine, right? Let's keep that in mind. Scottie having that migraine and then pulling away in that game in that second half. If they don't have that adversity right there, then how do we know that the flu game goes the same way? Now, don't take that as to say I'm comparing Mike and Scottie. But what I'm just saying is you meeting a level of adversity, right, that is acting against you with a great team on the other side. So now you've got to overcome that and still be spectacular because that's what wins championships. You can't be average at that point no more. It's spectacular all the way. So what I'm saying is you get beat down, right? You can't do certain things. Like they say, Mike got to stay on the ground. But now you like, I'm about to fight through this. I'm going to put this weight on me. I'm going to be efficient with this weight. I'm going to score better from here. Tony Kukoc going to hit his – well, Tony Kukoc wasn't there yet. But,
right,
you know, Scottie going to be more efficient with bringing that ball up the court and passing it. B.J. Armstrong going to be more efficient hitting his threes. So what I'm saying is that when it comes to that team sport and facing Detroit, that made them be able to go rattle off 3. Mike left. Scottie tried. Came back. They was a little out of sync. And then they rattled off 3 more. They do that because they got over a team that just took down one of the NBA greats in the Celtics, right? They just took down that team, and now they're going and facing Detroit that knows what it takes to win because Detroit beat the Lakers. So they know what it takes to win. They are facing – Detroit is facing great teams, and now Chicago has to come through, and then they sweep them. So that just shows that Mike's work ethic that we always talk about, that fed over to those other players because they were getting smashed. Like, that was personal. They felt something about that. So what I'm saying is that gave them that tenacity to go rattle off 3, right? And then go rattle off 3 more. And that's why I say it's a team sport, because they get everybody going. You feel where I'm coming from?
Actually, no, because here's why.
Come on.
When you're talking about if the game was about them just being stronger, then you would be correct. That's not what the game was about. There was a physicality a part of that game. There was a mental aspect of that game. And then there was the actual level of play. If you look, let me tell you something. Go back and look at any playoff sweep. A playoff sweep is probably the biggest example of a team being exposed and a team's true ability. It's not like it was a game 7, and if it came down to the last 4 seconds, and then Michael Jordan was able to physically push Bill Laimbeer off of him, then grab the ball and shoot the game-winning shot. Then you would say, had Mike not been strong enough to push Laimbeer off of him, then he wouldn't have made that shot. Probably so, you would have a point. When you get swept, that ain't just because you was pressing your weights, as my brother Tuck would say. You wasn't just pressing your weights and then you got strong and now you the champs. That ain't how that went down. They literally outplayed the Pistons 4 games in a row, back to back, all on all levels. It wasn't just the physical part of it. It was the shooting, the passing, the defense, the scoring, the mental toughness. That point when even Dennis Rodman said it. When Dennis Rodman shoved the shit out of Scotty and Scotty went down and just laid there, took a couple of seconds and got back up, he said he knew they had lost then. Because he was like, they was in a whole nother zone. They were playing on a different level. That ain't because of the Pistons. It's because of the Pistons beating them that they were saying, we gonna play harder. That's competition. If you going to box me in a ring and you going to box Mike Tyson that's 53 years old, you going to have 2 whole different levels of fear. The fear of me being your uncle and just being a badass is one thing. But the fear of getting hit by Mike Tyson, that's a whole nother level of fear. You could, if you piss your boxing shorts because of it would be understood with Mike Tyson. Man, that dude pissed in the ring. It was Mike Tyson. I probably would have pissed too. And maybe even shitted a little. That's what I'm going to say. I would not, but hey, that there is nothing that you can do or say that can say, well, this guy made him do that. Now, if they play day in and day out against the Pistons, if they practice against the Pistons every day, if the Pistons came every weekend and played the Bulls in a 5-on-5, yeah, you can say that. You could say that then. But you talking about what? Back then, I think they might have played maybe 6 times a year out of maybe about 72 games or something. And then they played in the playoffs. And I want to say that year, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that they beat the Bulls 6 times in a row, or every time they met in the regular season that year. So it's like you talking about a level of competition and you talking about what they actually had to do to win. The way that they won against the Pistons, it wasn't a thing of them just saying, well, they came out and because they were stronger because of what the Pistons did to them last year, then that's why they got better and they won. No. Is there an aspect of them wanting to compete against them and not lose because they lost to their ass? Yes, absolutely. They had lost to their ass the year before too. So, yeah, you want to beat whoever's on top, but they didn't make them. That's all I'm saying.
My question, because the thing is, we are agreeing, right? We are agreeing to the, but like I said, I think make is the strong word. Mm-hmm. But what I'm trying to get across with that word is if the Bulls go off and say Detroit gets eliminated, say Detroit doesn't get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and now I wasn't even a thought yet. So I don't know exactly what that playoff run was.
Which one?
But if they face somebody else, are you gonna say that they are gonna be as dominant going through the 90s? If they don't get that sweep over Detroit and walk off that court, like we just swept these cats that we took to 7, they back-to-back champs. If that is not the outcome, if it's a different team and they still sweep them, they go rattling off 6.
Great question. Yes. If you take the Pistons, if there was a nuclear bomb dropped on Detroit, which they probably should do because it ain't shit in Detroit. Detroit ain't done shit but make cars. They need to move the cars out of Detroit and drop a fucking nuke on them. But besides that, had the Detroit Pistons been just obliterated off the face of the earth, would the Bulls have still won? Yes. There was not another team that was better than them. Listen, and I'm saying yes, the year that they lost in Game 7. Had there not been a Pistons there, who would have beat the Bulls?
Man.
Just listen to what I'm saying. Had there not been a Detroit Pistons there the year before they won, who else could have beat the Bulls? Scotty had just gotten his wings. Scotty had just gotten on that next level of play that year, which is why they was able to go to a Game 7. Who else could have beat them? And if you want to go back and look at the standings in that 89-90 year, if you want to go look at the standings and see who the better teams were that year, you talking about the Pistons. I mean, you talking about the Pistons, the Bulls, the Cavs, and I want to say the Knicks and the the Celtics. Those are only 5 teams in the East anyway. If the big Detroit Pistons would not have been there, they would have went on and won. They would have beat them Lakers just like they beat the Lakers. The Lakers team was damn near the same that next year.
Yeah, I'm looking up that. I want to see that.
Look it up.
Bracket.
Just look it up.
What was going on?
Because even if you say that, it's like what impact did the Pistons have on the Bulls for the second three-peat then? You can say, well, they had Dennis Rodman. You can say
the second three-peat had the most adversity because the Jazz was going. That's the finals that I watched. I had YouTube that one because that's the 2 iconic ones. The Jazz were giving it to them. Were they not? Home court.
Who made them then?
But what I'm saying is that moment catapulted them into a decade, man. I'm saying is
just because you beat the champ don't mean the champ made you. It don't.
But in that case, now if we're talking about when the Cavaliers beat the Warriors, right? No. Because I just think that was some phenoms type stuff that happened at one time, right? They didn't rattle off nothing. The team broke up and whatever, but none of them were ready, right? But what I'm saying is the Bulls played a team that was changing basketball, right? How physical they were, the way they were playing basketball, and who they had just dethroned coming from nowhere.
You talking about the Pistons?
Yes.
The Pistons that's what I'm saying. The same way that the Pistons were. The reason why they beat the Celtics is because they were a younger, faster, more physical team. The Celtics were at the tail end of their run. They literally just got dethroned. The Celtics didn't make the Pistons. There was nothing that the Celtics did to the Pistons that made them come back the next year and be like, yeah, we're going to get y'all. The Celtics
beat them on their home court.
The Celtics came up against them Pistons, and them Pistons was too much for them. Them Pistons were, look, it's like this. The Pistons were a really fucking good basketball team. Why were they a really good basketball team? Because they beat up on everybody? No. It's because they had shooters, they had defense, they had offense, they were young, they were fat. Isaiah Thomas is arguably one of the top 3 greatest point guards of all time. Dennis Rodman, one of the greatest, if not the greatest rebounder of all time. Joe Dumars, one of the greatest shooting guards of all time. And not to mention the role players of Buda Edwards. What's the other ugly dude that they had? You got your Bill Lambiers, your Xavier McDaniels. Wasn't he on that team? I think he was on that team, or was he on the Knicks? But whoever else they had, they literally had a good team. It wasn't a thing of the Celtics making them better. They were the shit when they came through Boston. And the Celtics had nothing for them. That's why when they talked about the Celtics leaving, right, they had a great coach. When they beat the Celtics, they tried to say, well, the Celtics just walked off the court too. They ain't say nothing. They just walked off the court. Bullshit. You clearly see Kevin McHale giving Isaiah Thomas a handshake. You could clearly see several other Celtics shaking hands.
Yeah, well,
Now,
they supposedly
I can
got them
say
off that court.
I could say this about the Celtics. Had it not been for Larry Bird's bad back, the Detroit Pistons wouldn't have been able to beat them. I can say that. Because you're talking about arguably top 3 greatest player in the league at that time.
But that's not what I'm saying is the exact opposite. Because what I'm saying is that the flu game is not a game that Utah won. Because the Bulls went through that challenge.
So you're telling me, you're trying to tell me that the Bulls and the flu game against the whatchamacallit, against the Jazz, you're telling me that Michael Jordan was able to play that game the way he did because he went through the Detroit Pistons some 5 years ago?
I'm not trying to give it all to that. I'm not trying to give it all to that because I think just him personally, potentially he could have done it. But what I'm saying is that playing that team and going through the hardships with that team, losing in that game 7 because Scottie had that migraine, right? It birthed a different breed where Scottie didn't have a back, and Scottie came back in that game. Scottie came back in that game without a back.
Okay, let me ask you this. The year before, when I think the Bulls won 1 game or 2 games in that series, when they got their ass beat, tell me how did the Detroit Pistons win?
The physicality. I mean, I don't think they was running a triangle at that time.
So they didn't score any. So wait, they the physicality. So they didn't score no points?
But no, I don't think. I think they were trying to play through Mike, and like that's what is so famous is those Jordan rules that Mike wasn't able to take over a game, right? Mike
showed up for them playoffs now.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, Mike had to get the ball out his hands to win 4 games. To win 4 games. I mean, we even learned that in the documentary when they was talking about it.
That's the that's the championship. I'm talking about the season before. How did they lose? Did they lose because Michael Jordan took all the shots? No. Did they lose because Michael Jordan wasn't strong enough? No. They lost because the Detroit Pistons were the better team. The Detroit Pistons they played together. They had better talent. They had better chemistry. They had better defense. They were the better team. That's why they beat the Bulls. And it wasn't because of the goddamn Celtics that they were that good. It just wasn't. When you're talking about we can even take it to the second three-peat. How did they beat the Utah Jazz? It wasn't because the Jazz the Jazz couldn't shoot. The Jazz didn't have no D. The Jazz was small. The Jazz wasn't fast. The Jazz were the Jazz. They were the best team in the West. They just were not better than the Bulls. And there was, in that case, then the Jazz should have came back and beat them the next year because the Bulls would have made them.
No, but that's not because no. I'm not saying.
Now don't be getting Asian on me now. No.
I'm not saying just because you lose to a team. Because with that previous comment that I had said, where we are agreeing that when they went into that offseason, they said we're gonna get stronger, we're gonna get more mentally prepared, we're gonna develop a better game plan, right? That's what so it takes some work by that team. Right? I don't know what the Jazz did. I'm not a Jazz fan. I don't care about John Stockton and Karl Malone. But what I'm saying is that me being a Bulls fan, I look at it as though getting over that hump of Detroit gave them that mental tenacity to be able to go into that next series and sweep them. Because
what I'm asking
Detroit wasn't old.
And what I'm asking you is, what was the difference between the Detroit Pistons, the year that they beat them in that game 7, and the year that they got swept? What was the difference in that team?
Nothing.
Nothing. It was the same squad.
It was all the Bulls.
Now let me ask this. What was the difference with the Bulls? How did they win? Did they win just because they were physically strong? No,
because they didn't let them get in their head. Like
what
they
did
were
they
saying.
Okay.
It was no more whining.
So what did they change
about it? We gonna play.
What did they change though?
Their mentality.
How? Tell me what was mentally different.
They got one, you just lost a game 7. That was heartbreaking. 2, you go back in there with a stronger mentality of we're not going to let these dudes get in our head. We're not going to let elbows disrupt us. We're not crying to the refs. We're trying to finish the play. And then if we get knocked down, we're going to get up off that floor like, man, this don't mean nothing, right? You hit me with all you got, and I get right back up. You going to look like, come on, man. What, he on meth? What's going on?
So they swept them because they got hit?
No, I'm saying they swept them because the same mentality that Detroit tried to bring into there and jump on them with, Chicago didn't let them do it.
Okay, here's what you are not, and here's what not just you, but this is what everybody's not doing. Nobody's going into the level and the style of the game that the Bulls played. The level of defense was way better. The level of offense was way better. They were better as an offensive team, a defensive team. They were better when it came to passing. They were better when it came to just their overall approach to the game. And that had nothing to do with Detroit making them do that. They became a better team. Why? Because they worked at getting better. They had a better season than the season before. They were a better team, and another team don't make you that. You have to have that from day one. You have to have that from the moment you start your season and you progress through the year to get you ready for the playoffs. You don't just get that because you lost last year and this year y'all ain't gonna beat us. You got to have a game plan that was better, and they did. You got to be able to shoot better, and they did. You got to be able to defend better, and they did. That ain't because of the Pistons. That's because of them as a team. They didn't want to lose, and they worked hard at winning. That's why they won. I don't understand how, because
I'm not going to say I don't get where you're coming from.
So you tell me this. If what you're saying is right, then you would say that for everybody who has ever won anything.
Nah, but that's not the point, because that one hit home. And
no, that's your stop. That's your emotions and that's your feelings.
No, that was their emotions.
No.
If this was 3 weeks ago.
Okay, so you saying any other team? You saying any other player don't have emotions? Any other team that lose to another team don't have no emotions behind that?
But you tell me this all the time. You gotta funnel emotions into doing it. Right?
You gotta what?
If you gotta funnel your emotions into the work. You gotta put in the work.
That's what an athlete does.
But
that's what LeBron James does. That's what Steph Curry does.
They have been putting in work to get from being the number 8 seed and the laughing stock to getting there to facing the Pistons and taking them to 7. So they were putting in work. That's what I'm not denying.
Who else has done that?
Saying is,
has any other team done that?
Routine.
Has any other team went from worst to first?
Yes.
Okay, so you telling me that they didn't have any emotions in that?
No, but I'm saying if we started pulling worse to first teams, that I'm not talking about they had one good year, but when they put something together, we can start looking through their playoff runs or their divisions and say, man, it took them forever to get over this team. And then when they did it, when they got mentally prepared to get over this team, right? When they changed their game plan to get over this team, right? When that was their focus, when they said, we're going to get better with this strengthening conditioning because we can't compete with this. That's what I'm saying. You are motivated. You would be
right. You would be right if that is what won the series for them. It didn't. If it was about, it's just like somebody saying, hey man, if I'm a weightlifter and I'm competing in the Olympics as a straight deadlift weightlifter, right? I pick up, the year before, I can only pick up 400 pounds. The person who beats me, he picks up 450 pounds. And then that next Olympics, 4 years later, I work hard, I'm lifting weights, I'm pressing my weights every single day. Now I'm back at the Olympics 4 years later. I'm up against the same exact guy. He lifts 450 pounds, I lift 465. That dude did not make me. I made me. He motivated me. He was the thing that I focused on to beat, but he did not make me the better weight. Stop. Let me finish. He did not make me the better weightlifter that I am. Because I was competing against him, I wanted to get better, so I did more weightlifting. I lifted more weights faster, longer, stronger. That's what I did. However, we're talking about weightlifting, which is one facet of that sport. I lift and I drop. Basketball is a little bit more complicated than that because you not only have the physicality part of it, you also have the art part of it. You have the science part of it, the passing, the defense, the offense. You don't have anything that the Pistons can say, oh, they made us a better passing team. Oh, they made us a better shooting team. Oh, they made us a better defending team. No, you have to do that yourself in order to beat that team. So if I want to compete and I want to beat that team that's there, I have to do something or some things better than them. That has nothing to do with that team making me better. It's me trying to beat them at their game. Every team that wins does one thing by winning. They play their game. That's it. If you playing your game, you will win. If I'm trying to beat you, I have to beat you playing your game, which means I need to get you out of your game or I need to surpass your level of gameplay. The Bulls surpass the Pistons' level of gameplay. The Pistons did not make them. The Pistons were there to beat them. The Bulls played on a whole nother level, which is why they got swept 4-0. In a game 7, down to the wire, last second shot, I might give you that. You don't get swept by being the best. It don't happen that way. That's why I'm disagreeing with you. I'm all on the point of you saying, well, there are things that they did that made them better. There are things that they did that made them get mad. That's the competition of sport. That's just being, hey, you over there, I'm over here. This my team, that's your team. We gonna beat y'all because we think we better. That's sport. But there was nothing that they specifically did that made the Bulls who they were. The Bulls came out bigger, stronger, faster, quicker, shot better, had more deep. They had it all, which is why they was untouched for 3 years. That's domination, not a gift. That's domination. Now dispute that.
Look, because we agree. We are agreeing to a point, right? And I think where we disagreeing at, and I'm gonna have to ask you a question. I'm gonna need your interpretation of what you think I mean by make when I'm saying that they make the Pistons, because I think that's where we missing each other. Because that comparison, go ahead.
The definition of made means to create something. It's just like God. No, hold on. Let me give you an example. God made man. That means there would be no man had it not been for God. Yes. Bill Gates made Windows. There would be no Windows operating system had there not been a Bill Gates. He made them. He created them. That's why I'm on that word made so hard, because it's a word that people are trying to use and it don't have 8 different meanings. If you get made, that means I created you. Just like in the mafia. When you become a made man, that means that the mafia has made you be on a level that is untouchable. You can't kill a made guy. That's exactly what that means. So you might want to use your words differently. You may want to do that. But what I'm saying, when I hear the word, when I hear the phrase, the Pistons made the Bulls, I will call bullshit on that every single time, because there was never a moment or a particular thing that the Pistons did that made the Bulls change their game to where they played in this particular moment. Because they did this, we did that, and that's how we won. No way. No team has gotten made like that.
But we were agreeing till you got to that last point when you said that they did this and we did that. I was with you because I was gonna take the word made.
So you telling me that the Bulls motivate. So you telling me that the Bulls became better shooters because of the Pistons? The Bulls became better defenders because of the Pistons. The Bulls became better passers because of the Pistons.
You generalized
the Bulls became faster because of the Pistons. The Bulls became stronger because of the Pistons. I can give you that. But that don't make me.
They became faster They didn't attack the Pistons as though the only thing that's gonna get us over them is getting stronger, right? It's like what I'm saying is that the Pistons motivated them. I'm not gonna say made, motivated them to change their entire approach, right? And this is going off what they say.
And every team does that.
Yes.
Every team does that. So you can't credit them.
No.
Credit them with their success. You can't. Because every team, that's just like when you look in the league now today. Nobody picks big men. Nobody gives a goddamn about a big man. If you 7 foot and slow as fuck, nobody in the NBA wants you. Nobody in the NBA is going to choose you. Nobody's picking you. However, if I'm 5'11", but I can shoot 39% from three-point line, I am one of the guys that's being sought after. If I have a 42% three-point field goal percentage, I'm one of the hottest guys in the league. Everybody wants me. Don't nobody want a 7 foot, 225 pound slow dude. Plain and simple. The only reason why they even went crazy over the boy in New Orleans is just because of how freakishly fast and agile he is, being his size. Would nobody give a good if that boy down in New Orleans, I can't think of his name, if that boy was slow as shit, he wouldn't probably even be in the league. Or he would have been third or fourth string down the line.
You talking about Zion, right?
Zion, yes. If Zion wasn't fast
100% right.
and agile, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. When you're talking about different attributes, certain aspects, that changes the whole game. Everybody now picks their teams and their players based on what they're competing against in their conference. If I'm on the East Coast and I want to go to the championship, I got to find somebody who can beat Giannis. I got to find somebody who can beat that other big boy in Philadelphia. That's who I got. And I got to find somebody who can beat the goddamn Celtics. I got to find somebody who going to beat them. And now I got to find somebody who going to beat the damn Pelicans. That's why the Pelicans got that boy. Because they like, well, shit, AD want to leave. Fine, let's get him and let's get some other fast guys around him. So when Zion Williams meet Giannis, we got a fucking chance. When Zion Williams meet what's the big boy in Philadelphia?
Joel Embiid.
Embiid. Thank you. When Zion meets Embiid, we have a chance.
Yeah,
that's it.
And that becomes the strategy to it. Right. And what you're saying right there, I think, is where we can hone in on the triangle offense, right? And how dominant that was, what that did for the Lakers, what that did for the Bulls, right? And that's why I'm going to agree with you that you got to put in a system that is going to work, that is going to get you over the hump of that team.
So then by your logic, would it be safe to say that the Detroit Pistons is what caused Tech Winner and Phil Jackson to institute the triangle?
No. I'm not saying that. No, I'm not. See, but that's why I'm agreeing with you. Because that's what I'm saying. That had nothing to do with Detroit. That's why I'm agreeing with you. And I was gonna tie that to the Patriots, right? If that same comparison you made about the center and the NBA, the one thing the Patriots don't do is they don't go draft hunting for that guy with the name, right? That's what they don't do. They don't go paying guys. They trade away all their stars, and they got 6. Bill Belichick got 6 Super Bowl rings, right? So what I'm saying is that's where I'm agreeing with you, is that it comes down to how you going to coach your team, how you going to build your team, and what product you going to put out there.
And just like how Bill Belichick got his Michael Jordan, Bill Belichick got his Scottie Pippen.
Yeah. You do need great players. Yeah.
But Bill Belichick also knows I got to go through Pittsburgh. He also knows I got to go through KC. He also knows everybody else that I got to go through Baltimore. That's why he owned Baltimore. He owned Pittsburgh. They couldn't beat him if they wanted to. Why? Because he played his game. Pittsburgh and motherfucking Baltimore did not make the Patriots. And the Patriots did not make the Steelers. Those guys competed and they have a rivalry and they gear up for each other every single time.
Here's where we disagree. And follow me here. Have you seen the movie Lawless with Shia LaBeouf and the dude who played Venom?
Nope.
You ain't seen that, but it's just about prohibition or whatever. But there's a line in there where his little brother gets beat up. And he tells him, we control the fear. And he said, when we don't control the fear no more, we are as good as dead. Right? And when it comes, if we're talking about the Patriots, if we're talking about the Pistons, right? So we got to use I'm going to use the Patriots and the Pistons together. I'm not going to compare them with the Bulls. But what I'm going to say is that when Pittsburgh finally beats them that one time, or when Pittsburgh gets blown out by Jacksonville, it's because they're looking ahead, because they're fearful, right? And I think that's where the Bulls were before they decided to go into that offseason to get over the hump. They were fearful, right? And that is with anything,
there's a level of fear in everything you do, especially when you're competing. That's always there.
New England had a hole.
That's always there. Whenever you're going up against something you haven't gone up against, there's a level of fear. When you're going up against something that has beaten you before, there is a level of fear. It's about what you do with that fear. It's about how you face that fear, which determines your outcome. If you don't believe that you practice harder, you've worked harder, and you believe in yourself, you will never overcome that fear. That's the fear in anything. It's in anything, which is what I'm talking about. The only thing you can credit the Pistons to is competition. That's it. The Pistons were a great team. They didn't make them.
It's more than competition. It's more.
Okay. Then in that case, what you're saying is that the Pistons made them conference champs. They didn't make them NBA champions because that's what the Lakers did. That's what you're saying. By your logic, what you're saying, nope. By your logic, what you're saying, because the Pistons did not get them the NBA championship. It got them the conference finals championship. So what the Pistons did was made the Bulls conference final champions, because the Lakers made the Bulls the NBA champions, because they had to beat the Lakers in order to get to that level of championship. That's what y'all saying. And everybody know that don't make no sense. Because what the Lakers did was play their game. They just didn't have enough for the Bulls. Just like the Pistons. They competed. They had competition. They were great teams. Because in that case, you would say that the Lakers made the Pistons. They made them champs. It wasn't the Pistons being good.
I'm going to stop using the word made. I'm going to stop using the word made. But what I am going to say is that the Lakers gave them something else once they lost to them.
And what you're saying, and what I'm telling you is, every team does. That's sport. That's competition. That's every single team does that. Any team you have a rivalry with, any team that you beat, no matter what it is, you have just like a team that's the worst team you never see in the NBA. There's always a team, there's always a game where the worst team in the league beats somebody they ain't supposed to beat.
Yeah.
That's not that team made them do that. That's competition. They're saying, we ain't got shit to lose. Let's play hard. Hopefully, this other team will underestimate us and we will catch their ass slipping. Happens all the time.
If we're talking one game, that's completely different. That's like when Charlotte ended the Heat's 26-game win streak, right? We expected that thing to end a long time before that, right? But
the Heat made the Charlotte. So the Heat made the Hornets.
No, what I'm saying is that's one game. That is one game, because I think the Heat played Charlotte and they swept them.
Okay.
So what I'm saying, what you say?
I said okay. I'm with you on that.
So what I'm saying is that's one game. But when I'm saying my examples, now let's even go back into the chat. My examples were the Bulls, the 85 Bears, and the 85 Bears with San Francisco, because that unleashed dominance. That didn't unleash a team that won a Super Bowl like Baltimore,
and that's where you're wrong. One game that has never sent, or one series has never sent a team that dominates on a tear. Never.
But it's not a series.
It's never. You're trying to say that one game that the 49ers beat the 84 Bears in, you're trying to say that one game is what took them to the next level, to where they went motherfucking 14-0. 15-0.
Yeah.
15-1. No, that ain't what happened.
But what I'm saying is, okay, you were alive for that. I got to go back in the history.
So I seen it.
You and Uncle Bert tell me about it. But when you watched that 84 season, did you not think you was about to witness a Super Bowl? A Super Bowl?
Yes, exactly.
You definitely thought it. And
so how did So did the 49ers get the Bears to be that good?
No, they played a part.
They didn't.
No, because that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying I got to start siding with you, because made is a strong word. That is what I'm saying. I'm not going to use the word made, because the way that you context made, as in God made man, as in if there is no God, there is no man.
They're not responsible for their dominance. They're not.
They played a key role. The San Francisco
and every
49ers
team does that
role because of the moment. The same as Detroit played a key role for the Bulls, not just in that Eastern Conference Finals, but for those 2 years when they had to play each other in the regular season and when they beat them 4-2. They played a key role in developing a team that won 2 3-peats.
And again, I'm going to say this. That key role you're talking about is just the natural competition of the sport, of the game.
You can't say natural, though.
Because if you're saying that, then I would say that the 85 Bears, the only reason why they won that Super Bowl is because the Miami Dolphins beat them and ruined their perfect season, and that made them mad. No, stop. Let me finish. The fact that the Miami Dolphins beat the Bears in that one game by a last-minute field goal, that's what made the Bears mad enough and good enough to go through the playoffs the way they did and not lose. That's what you saying. You can't say that. One team beating another team, that's competition. You get better by competing. You don't get better because this one team beat you this one time, or this one team beat you this one year. It all matters. Every win and every loss makes you who you are as a team. All the losses matter. All the wins matter. Do you realize as a coach, one of your most important jobs is to analyze the way that you win and the way that you lose? Because if you don't know how to lose, you cannot win. And if you don't know how to win, you're destined to lose. So you have to analyze both of them. Even when you blow a team out by 30, you still need to look at the way you did it and see where the weaknesses are, where the strengths are, and where your opportunities are at. The same thing as when you lose. We, as a coach, we look at our games the exact same way. Yeah, we won this game, but what did we do wrong? Yeah, we lost this game, but what did we do right? That's what we do. That's not this team making us better. That's the level of competition in the sport. Playing the game makes you better, period. Because if it wasn't that way, that means every team would attribute every win to the team that they lost to the last time. And that makes no sense.
No.
Because that takes away all of your work and preparation that you do as a team. See, you have never prepared a team before, so you don't understand the level of preparation that you have to do in order to compete. Not to win, but to compete. This ain't about saying, oh, well, if we want to do this, this is how we got to do to win. No, you have to compete on a certain level in order to win. That's what you have to do. If you're not competing on a certain level, you will lose. And it ain't going to be the other team is the reason why we lost, or the other team is the reason why we won. The Bulls went through a 3-championship tear, sat down for 2 years, and went on another 3-championship tear. That ain't got shit to do with the fucking Pistons. That's about them competing on a certain level. They competed on a level to where nobody could touch them. They got to a level of dominance. That's what they did. Look at LeBron. 6 championships, 3 wins. That's because they lost those 3 because they could not compete on the level of dominance. That's it. That's why they lost. When LeBron James and them lost to San Antonio, it was a no-brainer. San Antonio dominated them. It wasn't a last-second shot that won the game for them in the game 7. It wasn't, if they would have called this foul, they would have won. You can't see, if you're talking about that, then yeah, you can get into the nuances of the game. But when you're talking about flat-out dominance, one team showing up and another one not. Just like when Kobe Bryant lost. Kobe Bryant didn't fucking score in the fourth quarter. Or he scored like 4 points in the fourth quarter. Nigga, you got dominated. You got dominated. That had nothing to do with the other team beating you. It was your level of play and how you competed as to why you lost. And when it ain't close, when it ain't 1 point here, 2 points there, had that foul been called, then the next series would have. No, you got dominated. That's why you lost. This team played on a whole nother level than your ass did. Just like when the Patriots beat the Falcons in the Super Bowl. Them Falcons thought they was dirty birding it up. Yeah, we about to come out here. That second half came around, and motherfucking Tom Brady and the rest of them played on a different level. Had nothing to do with the Falcons. They were like, we're playing on this level here, sir. This is what we're doing. So if you can't pinpoint something down to a specific play to say, well, had this dude been a little faster, they would have made it. Just like when the Titans went to the Super Bowl. Had that ball been thrown a little bit later, had that player been just a little bit faster, he would have scored. He was literally a yard away from the goal line.
That's the most exaggerated play in sports history.
But I'm saying, had there been a stretch in time, had he had a little more time, 3 more steps, 2.5 more steps, 1.5 more steps, you could say they would have won. You right. What could the Pistons have done to say, they could have won? Had it not been for this, they would have won. You can't name one thing because the Pistons were getting dominated on all levels. Mentally, the Bulls' mental fortitude, whole nother level. Physically, the Bulls weren't as weak as they were. They weren't stronger than the Pistons. They just weren't as weak as they were before. Offensively, they were much better as far as offense is concerned. Defensively, they were much better as defense. They were much better in all of the aspects of the game. That's how you get swept, not because a team beat you the year before. That ain't nothing but fire. That's fuel for the fire. That's a little more gas. Fire got to be burning already, though, for gas. You got to have a fire lit in order for the gas to make the flame go up. It's the loss that gets you to nodding your head in the tunnel. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Y'all remember how it felt when we lost last year? Yeah, but there's a lot of skill and practice and preparation that goes along with that. That team didn't make that. That team helped fuel that. And that's with any team that you compete against. That's what I'm trying to tell you, nephew. Every team that wins have the same. Do you realize that Shaquille O'Neal said, I picked a fight with David Robinson. I made up some shit about David Robinson. He said that he told the world this. Yeah, when I was a kid, I asked David Robinson for an autograph, and he didn't give it to me. And he played me. He walked off. He ignored me. So now I got a chip on my shoulder when I play against him. He came back after he retired and said, man, that shit never happened. I made it up so that I could compete against him. Shaq was already physically better. Shaq was more dominant in the paint. But David Robinson was on another level of skill, and David Robinson wasn't scared of Shaq. Shaq was scared of Dave. So he had to psych himself out in order to overcome that. Physically, though, game-wise, he was already there. David Robinson can't stop Shaquille O'Neal in the post. Shaquille O'Neal was stopping himself because of his mind. But Shaquille O'Neal already possessed the skill. He possessed the ability to score. He just had a problem with his mind when it came to playing against David Robinson because David Robinson was cold as fuck at that time. Had nothing to do with David Robinson making Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal can't say, David Robinson made me. David Robinson can't sit back and say, yeah, I made Shaquille O'Neal. If it hadn't been for me, Shaq wouldn't be who he is. No, Shaq was already on his way. He just went through you mentally. That's all he had to do.
That's where we agreeing. That's where we.
But my point is this: that happens in competition, nephew. That happens when you play and compete. It's not
Shaq
one
didn't
team.
make that story up about anybody else.
You say what?
You see what I'm saying?
You say
Shaq
what?
Didn't make that. He didn't make that story up about Akeem Olajuwon. He made that.
And
story
you know
up
why?
About,
you want to know why he didn't make it against Hakeem Olajuwon? Because he couldn't fuck with Hakeem. Hakeem Olajuwon was like
bad
Michael
example.
Jordan against John Starks with him. He shitted
example.
on Shaq all
Bad
day
example.
long. Hakeem Olajuwon, for that matter, shitted on every center in the league. There was no big man that was even come close. There's no big man that, with the exception of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, a.k.a. Lou Alcindor, that's better than Hakeem. Nobody. Can only if you even want to talk about competing against Hakeem Olajuwon, if you're not saying Bill Russell, if you're not saying Wilt Chamberlain, and if you're not saying David Robinson or Kareem, you can shut the fuck up with whoever else you want to throw out there. Because nobody else even competed with him. Do you hear what a word I'm using?
Yeah.
They could not compete with Hakeem Olajuwon. Do you realize that Patrick Ewing in his prime could not touch him? There was a play that specifically called out every time that the Houston Rockets, and you can go back and look this up, every time the Houston Rockets played against the New York Knicks, the first play of the game, the first possession of that game went to Hakeem. Hakeem would go down to the block, and he would literally do that move he would do where he would do that fake and roll around and lay that shit up on your ass. He did it to Patrick Ewing every single time, to the point to where the announcers called it out. And never in one game did Patrick Ewing ever stop it. Patrick Ewing knew it was coming. First possession is going to Hakeem on the block. Oh, I'm sorry. I must be too loud if it's popping. First possession of the game is coming to Hakeem on the block. He knew it was happening. He would be down there, and he couldn't guard him. Hakeem would embarrass him every time. That's dominance, and that's a whole nother level of competition. Patrick Ewing could not compete with him. That's why Shaq couldn't say shit about Hakeem. That's why when the Houston Rockets played the Orlando Magic, they swept them. And it wasn't the team before that made them. They were on a whole nother level. Vernon Maxwell, Clyde Drexler, all of them niggas. Who else was on that team? Vernon Maxwell, Drexler, Hakeem Olajuwon, Robert Horry, Big Shot Bob.
Yeah, Robert Horry. Yeah.
All them dudes, they couldn't do nothing with them. He was on that Mike level. He was truly dominant. That's it. You couldn't do shit with him. So that's why he didn't do that. Now, Shaq and Dave, yeah, I got some leeway there. Because I'm bigger than David Robinson. David Robinson is not as quick or as fast as Hakeem Olajuwon, so I can stick him. Right. Sam Cassell, Kenny Smith. They had a whip. Dude. So when you talking about that, when you talking about how these guys played, there is a level of dominance that takes place to where you get undenied. You can't be stopped. That's it. Go ahead with your last word, man. I'm gonna see if I can get somebody else in here. Make your last
what? To a point, man, we agree that you have made me more conscious of using the word motivate rather than made. But what I will still stand on that rock and proudly shout that Eastern Conference Final Series of them losing that Game 7 with Scotty's migraine then sparked what gave them that fuel, is what I say. Rather than made, gave them that whatever you want to say. I'm going to say it was 3-4 gallons of fuel that they poured on that fire that they had already had lit by taking it to 7, that kept that fire burning. And as they kept winning more games and getting in more heated rivalries, it constantly kept adding to be the biggest burning fire we've seen in the NBA. The most dominant run we have seen in 80s forward or 85 forward, right? That is what led to that. I'm not completely, but that Eastern Conference Final Series gave them what that missing piece of motivation to get over that hill, and once they got there, to run through who was on that side, because they knew that they could beat anybody. Because the personal test that they had, the personal rivalry, which is what I wanted to get at, that rivalry there, they said, we can get over this, we can get over anybody. And that ran them through the six.
No, I don't agree. I agree that loss.
Hey.
I agree that loss in that game 7. I agree that loss in that game 7 was part of them. That loss that they took was part of them getting prepared, just like every other loss they had against the Pistons and every other loss they had against any team that they had struggles with any team that they played. It prepared them and got them to the point that they got to where they dominated.
They didn't fear anyone.
I do not think that the Detroit Pistons made the Chicago Bulls. I do not think that the Detroit Pistons. Wait, I do not think that the Detroit Pistons are the reason why the Bulls are who they are or who they were. I do not believe that. I believe that. Hold on. I believe that the Detroit Pistons played a part, just like every other team that the Bulls won and lost against played a part in them becoming who they were, because that's what competition is. That's what I believe. That's what I'll agree to.
Okay, and we can leave. Hey, this might come up at another time when there's more people involved, and we'll see where it goes from there.
I appreciate you, nephew. Good talk.
All right, man.
All right. All right. Let me go ahead and run this. If there's somebody else that want to hit the link, come on in and do that. In the meantime, I'm going to run this little clip real quick.
The Bulls have 3 seconds to try a shot and try to win the game. Sellers has Jordan.
Here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win! They win! Set the Cleveland Cavaliers. Michael Jordan hits it at the foul line.
A lot of people put us out of this whole series. I opened my mouth a little bit, and I challenged the guys. I challenged myself and said we can win in 4. I don't care how many we won in, we won. We're going to New York, baby.
And Elo had just hit a layup to give the Cavaliers the lead. According to Jordan, it was a mistake to put Craig Elo on him because future teammate Ron Harper was the tougher defender. Harper felt the same way, and when he found out he didn't get the assignment, he said, quote, yeah, okay, whatever, this bullshit. They didn't beat Harp in the episode. But that season ended just like the previous one, at the hands of the Pistons. Wouldn't be until 2 years later that the Chicago Bulls finally got over that Detroit Piston hurdle. 91 in Detroit, Game 4. Jordan trying to get over the hump and past the bad boy Pistons. Scottie Pippen. I tried to mimic the bass of Pippen. I failed miserably. I won't do that again. Jordan hits the 3, Bulls up 9. Craig Hodges, beautiful backdoor, Pippen. Left hand off glass. Rodman with a 2-hand shove to the back, but as the Bulls mentioned in the documentary, they didn't take the bait.
You see that? That ain't have nothing to do. They weren't doing that the year before. They weren't on that. They weren't playing on that level. The level of intensity that they played at, it was way different than the year before. This was a different, it was just like the series was different, and the series went the way that it went because the Bulls were just a better team. And that wasn't because they played the Pistons the year before. It was because they progressively gotten better. That's what it was. It was every team that they played, every loss that they had, every win that they got is what made them get to the point to where they were like, we going through. We're going to play our game, and we're going to see where it's at. We're not getting into the fighting and bullshit. We're not getting into the hacking, the Jordan rules with the hacking and all that. We're not getting into that. We're going to come through, and we're going to play our game and see what happens. And they swept them. Not a last-second shot in Game 7 that Michael made and that won. No, they swept them, just like when they swept the Cavs the series before. The Cavs didn't get them ready for that. They went through them. The Cavs was trying to beat them just like the Pistons were trying to beat them. Ewing owned Hakeem in college. You may be right, but Hakeem owned him. Man, you go back and look, Billy Goat, there was not a center. You can talk numbers, but we talking about dominating on the basketball court. There was nobody better than Hakeem Olajuwon at center in the NBA. No way. And you talking about Patrick Ewing in his prime. He was not better than Hakeem Olajuwon. Look at the stats. Look at how they played against in college. I get it. On that court, Ewing did not have a thing for Hakeem. He couldn't do nothing with him. Hakeem outplayed Patrick Ewing every time they met. Look it up.
Didn't rise to the level of the aggression. Kept their focus. Mostly.
Exactly. That's a whole nother
Next
level.
possession for the Pistons. Vinnie Johnson, the microwave with a miss. John Sally with a putback dunk. After the play, Rodman and Pippen. But that was as heated as it got. Bulls led by 7 at the break. In the third, Jordan, who would finish with a game-high 29,
Boom.
gets the very...
Mike only had 29. What is y'all talking about? His knees were shot. I get it. That ain't no excuse. You still lost. Like I said before about Larry Bird. Larry Bird back was bad when they played the Pistons. They could have won. I get it. But as far as pound for pound on the court, knees and all, back hurt, my neck and my back, you can say it all. He couldn't touch him for whatever reason.
very friendly road roll. Bulls cruising up 15. Jordan down low finds Pippen. Hits that right over the long arms of Sally. Bill Laimbeer on the bench.
Exactly.
And as the game winds down, Isaiah Thomas and a number of the Pistons leaving the floor early. Was it in response to Jordan's comment?
They didn't walk off after the game. They left early. Hoe-ass niggas. That's some hoe-ass shit right there. That's we mad and we gone. The Celtics did not do that.
Comments about their physical brand of basketball? Or was it simply what...
That's white boy Bill Laimbeer. Come on, man. Let's fucking leave, bro. We're fucking mad, man. Fuck them. Fuck these guys. That's what they did. Because the year before that, it was all good when y'all was beating their ass. It was all good when y'all was coming through being the bad boys. It was all good then. Now this year, when them niggas elevated and played on a whole nother level, and y'all couldn't compete and got swept, that's embarrassing to get swept. They got swept. This wasn't no game 7. This wasn't a game 6. This wasn't a last second shot. This was 4 in a row. Go home, ho.
Boston had done to Detroit. Some Pistons, including John Sally, stayed on the floor. Chuck Daly as well, offering congratulations as Jordan was on to his first NBA Finals. Took a lot of losing, as Jordan put it. They physically beat the bleep out of us. How come you can cuss and I can't cuss? How's that work? For 6 years before the Bulls finally broke through against Detroit. And, of course, Boston had done the same thing to Detroit. That's just sort of how the Eastern Conference went at that point in time. Once Chicago turned the corner, they didn't look back, winning 26 of the next 32 games and never losing consecutive times.
Exactly. That's not another team making you get there. That's you putting in work to get better. That's what that is. Yes, they competed. Yes, iron sharpens iron, and playing against the best makes you better. Yes, it does. But they did not make them. That's all I'm saying. All right, let me see who I got here. I'm going to bring in my man, Michelle Colbray. What's good, bro?
What's going on, man?
What's happening, Captain?
Man, I had to say that to make you angry, man. You remind me of R. Kelly in that Gayle King interview and shit, man. Yeah, man. I inspired you to be like that. Kind of like with the Bulls, man. Yeah.
Go ahead, bro. What's your thoughts?
Man, the Bulls kicked our ass, man. Don't get me wrong, the Midwest in general made the NBA better today. We the ones with, I guess, with the third and with most championships or whatever. We got 10 championships altogether in our region in the Midwest, because you got Cleveland with 1, Chicago with 6 and Detroit with 3 championships. So yeah, we dominated the 80s and 90s from Detroit to Chicago.
Yep.
But yeah, the Pistons didn't make the Bulls. They just inspired them to play better. They made them basically to step their game up and come with new plans and new strategies, as you was arguing before.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, but
And that's what I was explaining to my nephew. That's with any team that you play against, especially if they are better than you. Because like I said, the 2 years before that, the Pistons were literally better as a team than the Bulls. Yes, we had Michael Jordan and he was the air up there and he could fly and all that kind of shit. That was great, but it wasn't enough to beat a team 4 times. He didn't have enough with him to beat a team 4 times, especially a team as good as the Pistons. He just didn't. So it was like you said, that the fact that those guys competed against them and they played against them, all that made them get better as a team. It wasn't this one thing that made the Bulls just go to another level. No, they had to work hard and become better as a team so that they could compete on a different level than the Pistons. And that's what they did.
yeah, man, just like we had to do the same thing when we were struggling in the 80s against Boston.
Exactly.
We had lost players. We had to make trades. Chicago had to do the same thing. They traded. People forget Charles Oakley was a Bull.
Yep, they had to let go of Oak. Yeah, let go of Oak. Had to get Horace Grant up in there. All of the moves that was made, it was made to say we need to have all of these pieces to not only be able to compete against these other teams, but to make our strengths stronger and to make our weaknesses stronger. That's what we had to do. And yes, I like Charles Oakley. Charles Oakley was a dog. I love Charles Oakley. But Grant was just a better player. He was bigger, stronger, faster, younger. He had more to offer the Bulls than a Charles Oakley did. So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You look at John, when they brought John Sally on, when they brought Dennis Rodman on, they brought more to the game, to the team, to where it made us better. We couldn't have ran off 72-10 with the ring, without having Rodman. We couldn't have did it without having Kukoc. We couldn't have did it without them. We would have still competed and been in the finals on it, but we wouldn't have ran as hard as we ran without those other pieces.
Yep, people forget about Steve Kerr. Another murderer from the Ark.
Yeah, he was a better John Paxson. He was a better Craig Hodges. He was just a better player. So it's like, hey man, we gotta keep that level. That was just one of the things that LeBron was complaining about, was saying, y'all got me here, but y'all ain't bringing me no talent. Ain't nobody coming to Cleveland. Y'all ain't getting nobody. And then when they let him pick the people he brought, they still couldn't win. They got one, and that was it. They was like, look, LeBron, you brought all these motherfuckers here talking about we was gonna win, and we ain't won shit.
Oh God! Don't even get me started on Cleveland. Cleveland just, I don't know. They couldn't. We didn't even have a stars in our team on the Pistons. We never. Every time we seek out a star, we would lose and fuck up. Just like with that Iverson and Chauncey Billups trade and shit. That was a disaster. Yeah. But yeah, for LeBron to not just get all the pieces together and still not win, something's wrong.
Yep.
And I was disappointed when I found out that Scottie Pippen was underpaid.
Yep. That was a clear case of LeBron being, because LeBron is probably one of the smartest basketball guys that play on his level. He's probably one of the, if not the smartest basketball guy I've seen. But LeBron's downfall in that was that he was looking at players that he liked to play with. He wasn't looking for players that would help him as a team overall. He was bringing in players he thought he could get along with, players he was cool with, guys he liked. He liked their game, but he wasn't looking at it from a macro point of view to where it's, hold on, what we do as a team, let's get in the best guys that do that. And that's why the cats he brought in, them niggas was straight. They was good to win some games, but they wasn't good enough to win a championship. They just wasn't good enough to win because they should have been running the table, but they wasn't because of that. So
Yep, that's the problem. Like that's why I say Jordan is a better player because he's like this. I'm don't got respect for the bad boy Pistons, but I'm gonna get Rodman, despite whether he's homosexual, crazy, whatever. The motherfucker can play.
exactly.
He can hold his own weight.
Yep.
LeBron, on the other hand, he just want to get people who he like and who he cool with and
Cool
whatever.
with.
I understand
Yes.
all that, but if they ain't producing results, then you're gonna have to go with the plan that you don't like.
Yep. Exactly. 1000%. Go ahead with
But
your
I'm
thought, bro.
I'm still disappointed that Scottie Pippen was underpaid, man.
I
The owner,
actually got that video that they had on First Take when they was talking about that. And what people don't understand, because the Bulls were a team to where they were known to not renegotiate contracts, which I get. I understand that. But my thing was this. It was like, you got this guy who is arguably the second best player in the NBA. Definitely top 3, absolutely top 5, no matter how you want to slice it. It wasn't the fact that Scottie Pippen signed a bad contract. Scottie Pippen was in a bad position in life. And the thing is, when you have greatness like that on your team, as Jerry Krause being the general manager and Jerry Reinsdorf being the owner, you all knew that Scottie was in a bad place in life financially. The thing to do is you don't have to make him the highest paid player in the NBA, but you make him a deal that is respectable. Jerry Reinsdorf himself said, I would not have signed that deal. Yeah, Jerry Reinsdorf, when you a fucking billionaire, you goddamn right you can make that choice. Scottie Pippen was the breadwinner for his household and his entire fucking family. His father in a wheelchair, his brother in a wheelchair, living in fucking Arkansas, poor as shit. What the fuck else can he do? What decision are you going to make? Because if you didn't sign that contract and you held out and he got hurt, especially back then in that time, Scottie Pippen wouldn't have got shit, and Scottie Pippen would have been a fucking has-been and would have never been thought of again, like a Grant Hill when he got hurt, like a Tracy McGrady when he got hurt, like a Anthony Hardaway when he got hurt. When players got hurt back in the day, you were fucking thrown away like trash.
Yep, it was like survival of the fittest. They got rid of your ass in the 90s. They didn't
give a shit about you once you got hurt. If you couldn't play, you got treated like trash. They threw you out, and before anybody could even say anything, they had another player in your position already playing, which would have been Tony Kukoc. Facts.
Mm-hmm.
Had Scottie Pippen gotten hurt, had gotten a career-ending injury, he would have been broke as shit, and he would have been replaced by Tony Kukoc, and the winning would have continued. It would not have been probably as sweet, but it would have continued, and then it would have been, oh, well, whatever happened to Scottie Pippen? We'd be watching that shit on a goddamn YouTube video, looking at his life and him living back in fucking Arkansas. He was in a bad position in life, and fucking Krause took advantage of that shit. Reinsdorf took advantage of that shit. Reinsdorf tries to put that shit on Krause 100%. Motherfucker, you the owner. You could have been
There's both of them.
yeah, look here, dude. I know you saying this off from 18, but we need to go ahead, get a nigga 30, and let's go. Had they gave Scottie Pippen just simply double that, $36 million, that's a good deal back then. Because right after that, you had the Penny Hardaway deal, you had the Shaquille O'Neal deals, you had the Lonzo Moore, and everybody else was getting big-ass contracts after that. This dude was arguably the second best player in the entire NBA on a winning championship team, and you fucking lowballed him because you could. Not because you didn't know no better, not because you didn't like him. You did it because you could, because you were a dick, because everybody wasn't fucking holding you up and hoisting your ass up like Rudy because of the team you was managing. And that's bullshit, man. You fucking with that dude's family, you fucking with his life, and you actually fucked up a dynasty.
Yeah, that's the point that got me, because when I found out, I was like, motherfuckers, do you know you could have ran the 90s and early 2000s? Then on top of that, y'all got rid of Phil Jackson. and you basically gave Los Angeles Lakers a load of Mac 10.
Yep. And the thing was, had Krause been just this much smarter, and made those guys happy, Mike wouldn't have left.
Yep.
And they would have won 8 easy. We probably could have won 9. We probably would have won 9 in a row. Because that year that the last dance, that last year, we were still good enough to win that next year.
Yep. Y'all could have
we
won.
Were good enough. Yes. We were still the year that yes, we were good enough to. We could have fucked around and won 9 championships. And that's where Reinsdorf would have gotten his kudos. Had he saw a little bit past the present and looked into the future, he would have been known as the manager that put together the team that won 9 championships. That ain't all Mike. That ain't all Scotty. That's all Chicago Bulls. That's Reinsdorf, Krause, Tex Winter, Phil Jackson. That's everybody when you get to that level of greatness. People talk about Robert Kraft as an owner because of the championships that they have won. Yeah, that first one or those first 2 may be attributed to the coach, may be attributed to the player, then the player and the coach. But when you start going on a tear, when you're 4 rings in, 5 rings in, motherfuckers say, hey, wait a minute. Who's making all this possible? Who's putting all these guys together? Who's
the management?
All this talent in? That's just like Jerry West. When he was, Jerry Buss being the manager and the owner, they talk about him because of the talent he was consistently bringing to LA. They're like, man, this guy Jerry West, this guy Jerry Buss, man, the Jerrys are doing it. That's how they do that. So it's like he just couldn't see past his fucking nose. He was looking right now, all the fanfare, all of the chatter being the hottest team in the NBA, and what nobody's chanting your name. Well, who the fuck else general manager gets their name shouted in the league? Nobody. Don't nobody know who the fucking manager is of the Knicks. Don't nobody know who the manager is of the Spurs. Ain't nobody looking for them. You're not an NBA star, but you can achieve greatness by keeping a dynasty together. That's what that does for you. But
yeah, y'all could have won at least like 10 or 12 championships if they kept the team together. But the owner was talking about rebuilding. Yes. Rebuilding for what?
They would have for a fact won 9. Easy. They would have guaranteed would have been 9. 10 or 11 could have been a stretch with the right trades, would have done it. Yep. Because Mike still had some gas. Mike, Scotty, and Rodman still had gas left in the tank. Cool coach still had gas left in the tank. Maybe Harper was dwindling down. It was about time for him to go. But you could have brought in some new guys. Steve Kerr went on to San Antonio and won championships.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
They still had it. He was the one that wanted to blow it up because they didn't like him, because he wasn't likable, because he was an asshole, because he wanted all the glory. And it don't work that way, dude. That ain't how that sport is designed. Plain and simple.
Yep. Yeah, y'all could have in Chicago. Y'all could have won at least 9 to 12 championships because Dennis Rodman was still playing a little bit, and they gave Phil Jackson away. Why would you? He went on to give what LA 6 more championships.
Yep. And the thing,
he
got 5. He got 5 because altogether, I believe he has 11.
Yep, he has 11 championships. 2 as a player. He has 6 with the Bulls and 5 with the.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh my God. So yeah. So Jerry Reinsdorf and Jerry Krause fucked up that team, man.
They did.
The reason why the Bulls still got a 22-year drought.
Yep. And Krause, he didn't realize it back then, but he was literally destroying the brand of Chicago. The fact that Michael Jordan left that team and retired and didn't retire as a Bull, he had to go play for the Wizards. And then once he left the game, he didn't even have a job in Chicago. You look at fucking Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson has literally been a Laker his entire life. Even with this little fallout that he didn't have with these guys, that was some 20 years later. That dude has spent he spent at least 40 years of his life being a Laker.
Yep.
All
That's
of
a
the
damn
talent that
shame.
he the reason LeBron is in LA now. The reason he's in now is because of Magic. So it's like you have an iconic player like Magic Johnson. Look what he did for the Lakers. Why wouldn't you have Michael Jordan as the icon, as just one of the ambassadors of the Chicago Bulls? You know why? Because you jealous of him. You know why? Because he don't need you. You actually needed him. Because right now, the Bulls are, in my opinion, the worst team in the NBA. I'm embarrassed to look at them. I haven't watched them in years. I refuse to do it. They got John Paxson up in that office and the other dude, Gar, or whatever the fuck his name is. They are terrible. They are terrible at their job. They are literally just fucking up the entire franchise and nobody's saying anything about it. But people,
you sure they're the worst team in the NBA, the Bulls?
You said what?
So you say your hometown team is the worst team in the NBA?
In my opinion, yes. From what we were.
Yeah, I thought it was the Pistons. Shit.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess both of us.
Man, I don't know of a team that had an iconic player like a Michael Jordan and just has not been able to achieve greatness again. Look at the Celtics. They achieved greatness again after Bird.
Yep.
Look at the Lakers. They've achieved greatness after Magic. With a Kobe, with a LeBron, with a Shaq, they've consistently achieved greatness. And it's like we just have none of that. And I hate teams and franchises in the NBA and NFL alike that have no respect for greatness. Plain and simple. I salute the Patriots for riding out the Tom Brady era as long as they did. Because even with him leaving, it was like they had no choice. It's like if he don't leave now, we gonna have to just go through the years of Tom Brady sucking until he tired and just retired.
Yeah, he was underpaid.
That's just
people forget about that. He was underpaid.
Yeah, but he had the money. He was literally there for the game. He's playing now because of his love for the game. He still wants to compete. He just did. He really just did. And we had Derrick Rose, but you look at it like with Derrick Rose. Had they not given Derrick Rose $97 million and Derrick Rose had not been a Chicago native, Derrick Rose would have left the Bulls. D Rose had the love and the mentality of Mike and what Mike did because he got to see Mike to where he wanted to bring that back to the city. And they still didn't get him no help. They brought in that bum-ass Jimmy Butler who fucked that team up, and they let him because he was the younger guy. And they let him fuck that team up, and we didn't win shit putting the ball in his hands. I see you, Ken. I'm going to get to you in a second. They put the ball in Jimmy Butler's hand, and Jimmy Butler fucking couldn't do it because he was a fucking bum and still is one to this day. Fuck a Jimmy Butler. Trash. Trash. Tell him I said that. You ain't gonna never see, and you never have seen, and you never will see Jimmy Butler take over a big game in the playoffs. Won't happen.
Is he from Chicago?
No, I don't know where he from.
I know Derrick Rose is from Chicago, but I don't know about Jimmy Butler.
D Rose, Chi-Town, born and raised, Southside. Yeah. He born and raised Chi-Town, but you will never ever see a Jimmy Butler. You will never see a Jimmy Butler take over a game in the playoffs to win, and it's all on him. You will never see it. He is an average player, and they gave him all that fucking money. What he do in Philly? Shit. What he do in Chicago? Shit. He had in Chicago going up against LeBron and them. The game was in his hands. He was asking for the ball. Give me the ball. I'm the man. Let me do this. Here you go. Nut it up. I seen it with my own two eyes. Jimmy Butler, he's an average player, Denise. He's an average player, but he is not who they say he is. He is not the money he's making, that big dumbass contract they gave him. No way. Right. What that did with Hoiberg, man, boy, please. Jimmy Butler Jimmy Butler, I tell you this. Jimmy Butler has never been top 20 player in the league. He ain't. Y'all looking at his little highlight reels. Y'all see the few nights he may have dropped 40. And that's the thing with a lot of players today. Y'all see a motherfucker drop 40 or drop 50 in a game in a regular season, and y'all give this motherfucker kudos like he the shit. Motherfuckers be like, oh yeah, he cold. He taking over the league. He gonna be the next one. A highlight reel, a hot game, get on Sports Center, hit the top 10 plays 2-3 weeks in a row. Bullshit. Show me what Jimmy Butler lead the league in scoring 2 years in a row. Exactly. Thank you, King Jen. Like D. Rosen. All hype. When it come down to it, when the game is on the line, hey man, we in the playoffs, fourth quarter, game 7. What you gonna do? That's what you need. When you got a guy that can't answer you, you know what you got. You know what you got, man. You know what you got. Thanks, Michelle. I appreciate it, man. You coming through. Huh?
Yep.
Go ahead with your last word.
Well, all I gotta say is the Midwest made the NBA great. We made the game harder for those, from the East Coast, West Coast, and down south. We got all that shit to say, but just give us Midwesterners our props, man. With Chicago and Detroit, especially Chicago. So, I love both teams. I'm a Midwesterner, so peace to both of them. Hopefully they can make a fucking resurgence. If not, I'll probably be old and dead in the grave.
All right, bro. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming through, dog.
Thank you.
All right. Ken, what up, brother?
What's up, man? How's it going?
Oh, man, I can't call it. You the man. Go ahead and talk to me.
Man, hey, man, everything you've been saying so far, man, is a thing of beauty. I may kind of disagree with you on Jimmy Butler, but for the most part, everything you said, man, I truer words have not been spoken, bro. Truer words have not been spoken.
Well, thank you, man.
As far as where the Bulls is right now, you tie that back to even going back like when you're talking about Scottie Pippen. And I mean, I remember, look, they screwed over Jordan, they screwed over Pippen. Horace Grant left on bad terms. Yep. Scott Williams left on bad terms. Yep. They screwed over Phil Jackson. Personally, really, from watching this documentary, I gotta say it. I mean, I've never been a Krause fan or a Reinsdorf. Krause was a genius. He's a genius, right? But like you said, I mean, he just, truth be told, I don't know of a general manager that was more popular than Jerry Krause. I mean, maybe Jerry West, but I mean,
you know what? You're right. He was popular, but he wasn't a star, and I think that's what he wanted because Jerry Krause is responsible for with Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Tony Kukoc, Phil Jackson, Tex Winter. He's responsible for all of them coming to Chicago. He went and got those guys together, and that's why it was so puzzling to say, well, why would somebody who put all of this together have such a and then it clicked. Ego.
His ego.
He wanted to be known as the puppet master, the mastermind, the genius behind the players and the coach. He wanted to be that guy. He got Phil Collins out of there. I mean, I said Phil. I always say that too. Phil Collins.
Yeah, Doug Collins.
Doug Collins. He got Doug Collins' ass out of there. And Doug Collins and Mike were like that. Mike even said it. Everybody liked Doug Collins. I know I did.
Yeah, I love Doug Collins too. But you know what? I mean, from watching a documentary, he had to go. I mean, it's unfortunate, but if Doug Collins was going to be like, look, we're going to win playing hero ball with Jordan, you probably was going to cut Jordan's career short.
Yep.
And we never would have saw what we ended up seeing. Because I mean, I watched an interview with Tim Floyd, who took Phil Jackson's place. He said Krause was recruiting him back in the late 80s. He hired Phil Jackson maybe like a year after he hired Collins. So I mean, Krause always had the foresight, but you screw your players over. And I remember Kevin Garnett from Chicago. Kevin Garnett was like, look, if you could do that to Michael Jordan, what the hell are you going to do if this dude brought you 6 championships, put you on the map?
And
what the hell are you going to do to me?
Nobody wanted to come to Chicago after that. That's why we lost out. Every player that had any type of possibility of coming to Chicago, they all, and I'm sure if any of them were smart, they gave Mike a call. They heard the rumors. They talked to people that were playing there, that played there before, and that was there. They talked to those guys. They talked to them. So it's like you destroyed the reputation of your franchise because you wanted to be a dick. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Because nobody was literally treating you like a superstar.
Right.
No, they didn't. No, Billy Goat. Hold on. Let me correct Billy Goat. They didn't play hero ball with Mike. No, they did not, sir. When you look at how the Bulls played when Mike was there with Doug and when Mike was there with Phil, it was different. The other players, Mike even said it himself. He had to trust those other guys to hit the three, to hit the baseline jumper, to hit the 12-foot jump shot. Mike wasn't passing that ball to them like that. And when you talk and you talking about pre-Phil Jackson, Mike didn't pass that ball like that, especially once he got inside the paint. That ball was going up. He started kicking that ball out, like he said, even in the championship against LA. He saw, well, man, they leaving Paxson open. What you think?
Yeah, and then he had to have the confidence. I mean, remember what he said. He came into the NBA. He playing with a bunch of drug heads, a bunch of coke heads.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine, having to play with these dudes on the court. I mean, I play with some dudes that maybe some dudes do play better when they high, but it is what it is. But I mean, to add to your point, something you said earlier, and you're talking about how many championships they could have won. I mean, really, you got to go back. Even I think it was 89, right? And we were talking about with Jordan, pairing hero ball, stuff like that. And apparently there's one game, I think it was game 5 against Detroit, where Jordan only took 8 shots. 8, right? Mm-hmm. And that series was tied 2-2. Okay, I'm showing you how great the Bulls was, okay? And, and obviously Jordan took 8 shots. Obviously they lost the game. Right. And then they ended up losing the series. OK. And I think Pippen missed the game in that series, too. And they lost like 4-2. Then the next year, they took the Pistons to 7 games. They took them to 7 games. And that's when you had the migraine. Right. Then, obviously in 91, they kicked the Detroit's ass. And, I always hear people say, oh, Detroit was old. Detroit wasn't old. Detroit was not old.
I said that in the beginning. I don't know how people all of a sudden, once they lost to the Bulls, said Detroit.
Yeah, they was old. No, they wasn't old.
No way.
No way. Yeah, I mean, Dumars was in his late 20s. Thomas was like 30. Rodman was what, like 28. They all was in their prime. The Bulls just went there and just beat them like a redheaded stepchild. That
exactly. And that's why that's why I said what I said. Had you taken the Bulls out of that conference, there were no Chicago Bulls, the Detroit Pistons would have went and won another championship because they were a better team than the Lakers.
Yeah,
they were.
Yeah, they were. They should have beat the Lakers. Remember, I think they should have beat the Lakers. It was a bad call, and the Lakers ended up winning that championship at 88. And really, they could have beat the Celtics in 87. But Isaiah Thomas turned the ball over. I mean, I remember this because I'm just hearing about all this stuff again, just recently. So it's refreshing my memory. I'm like, man, Detroit probably really could have won at least 3 or 4.
Won at least 3 or 4. You're right. And that's my thing. It's like when you're talking about, and this is just NBA history, because I get what Isaiah's deal is. Isaiah don't get the pub and the recognition and all that. But the thing is this, what Zeke don't understand, it ain't specifically about the bad boys. The only teams that really get acknowledged are the teams that are winning right now today.
Right.
And the teams that were dominating back in the day.
Yeah, transcended. Yeah.
Had 2 championships. That was it.
Right.
That team, the bad boys, only won back-to-backs. Just like people never talk about the Pistons winning back-to-back, People don't talk about the Spurs winning back-to-back. People don't talk about the Houston Rockets winning back-to-back. People don't talk about those championships. They just don't.
Right.
People barely talk about the Miami Heat championships.
Yeah.
The two that they won. They don't even talk about them. Why? Because winning one is a luck of the draw. Winning two is, okay. Winning three, you dominate. That's why people only talk about the Bulls. That's why people only talk about the Lakers. That's why they only talk about those teams, because they dominated. Now, you talk about the championships today. Yeah, you talking about the Golden State Warriors. Yeah, you talking about the Cleveland. You talk about the Cavs, whatever. But the Golden State Warriors is the team that has dominated in these 2000s. They're the only ones.
Yeah. Even when you talk about the Lakers, like, sometimes you talk about the Lakers and their championships, people forget that Kobe Bryant won 2 championships with Pau Gasol in them in the late 2000s, with 2010 or whatever. Because whenever you hear they talk about Kobe's championships, they talk about Shaq and Kobe.
Yes, and only time people talk about Kobe's 2 championships, the only time they talk about Kobe's 2 championships by himself, not by himself, but without Shaq, is when they're talking about the greatest of all time, when they're talking about him as a player, when they're talking about him, comparing him to a Michael Jordan and things like that. Because before Kobe won those 2, everybody said, well, Kobe can't be as great as Mike because Kobe had Shaq. And it wouldn't had it not been for Shaq, Kobe wouldn't have had them 3 rings. Clear as day.
Yeah, that's true.
And then they said when Kobe went up and lost, they was like, see what I mean? Kobe can't win without Shaq. It wasn't until Kobe won, not 1, but 2 without Shaq, where they said, okay, he the coldest thing.
Okay, he's legit. Yeah. That's what I think he became legit.
That's when he got that crown of being the greatest player in the game today. That's when they said that's the only person you can compare to Michael Jordan, because he got 5 rings and he won 2 of them on his own, and he literally dominated in the league. He was without a doubt. There wasn't even D Wade. You couldn't even compare. Kobe was better than D Wade. Kobe was better. They're just like now people talk about LeBron, but you can kind of throw in Durant now. You can throw him in there and say, oh, well, Durant is good too. He didn't want to. But back then with Kobe won, hands down, there was nobody else to compare to Kobe Bryant besides Michael Jordan.
Yeah. I just want to say one more thing, and I'll hop off. When you were talking about, or 2 things, I'm sorry, to your title, we're talking about the Pistons and, and were they whiners? Yes, they was, in my opinion. Yes, they was. I think Jordan said it best. Every time they lost to them, we went up and we shook their hand, right? But when they beat us, they want to go tuck tail and run off the court, right? Isaiah Thomas, and this is where I think people have a problem with Isaiah Thomas, because before that stuff came out, right, what Jordan said in his documentary, Isaiah Thomas thing was, oh, well, the Celtics, when they beat us, we finally beat them. They walked off the court, while such and such are shooting free throws, whatever. But you got to understand the situation was different because and you correct me if I'm wrong on this, but Rodman tells Bird or tells the media the only reason why Bird was good was because he was white. And if he was black, he'd just be considered another good basketball player. Right? Mm-hmm. And then Thomas, they asked him about it, and Thomas backed him up. And I mean, I applaud him for doing that as a teammate, right? He backed him up. Right? But now you say something like that.
Wait a minute, what happened with your mic? I can't hear you now. You kind of like dropped off.
You insult me, now I'm supposed to shake your hand? Okay.
Hold on, wait. I can't wait. Hold on. Stop. There's something going on with your mic. We can't hear you now.
They were the ones always elbowing him and Pippen and pushing him on the ground and kicking him and
Ken, can you hear me? Ken, can you hear me?
Careers.
There you go. You came back now. Okay,
I mean,
can you hear me? Wait. Stop. Ken, stop. Whoa.
Situation.
Ken, stop.
You went in the leader of the Celtics.
Ken, time
You know, by
out.
saying
Time
only
out.
reason why
Time out.
because he's
Hello.
white.
Hello. Hello.
I don't care.
Hello.
He's white, black, blue, or whatever. That was a bad motherfucker.
Ken,
Okay.
stop. Ken, stop.
What?
Time out. Time out. Whoa. Can you hear me? Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, your mic went out, so I couldn't hear anything after you said. They said Dennis Rodman said that Larry Bird he would have been an average basketball player if he was black. So go from there.
Right.
Go
Okay.
get what you said.
Yeah. So just to make it simple, I can see why Larry Bird and the Celtics, who was predominantly white, wouldn't want to go and shake their hand. You just insulted our best player. Whereas Thomas, you know, they was beating up the Bulls. They were thugs. I remember them games, man. They could. That's what I was saying when I first came on. They could have never beat the Bulls on sheer talent. They couldn't do. I'm sorry. I don't care. You know, I know Pippen was young, Grant was young. Come 1990, maybe 80, I don't think the Pistons could have beat the Bulls on sheer talent, right? And then one last thing I wanted to say to show how great the Bulls was in 1998, the last championship that they won, they tied Utah for the best record in the league, right? Pippen missed half the season.
Right.
I mean, you take your second best player off the team and they still finish for half the season and they still finish with the best record. Hell, when Jordan retired, they replaced Jordan with Pete Myers, and they still won 55 games.
Yep. And that was and that just goes to their greatness. Now I will say this: what Rodman said about Larry Bird, that's bullshit. Because if Larry Bird was black, even if he was slow, the way that he shot, there wasn't shooters like that throughout the league. Back then, the only people that was really shooting like that was Larry Bird, Reggie Miller, Glenn Rice, and maybe a handful of other people, especially having the size that he had. Wasn't too many big guys shooting from three-point land like that. And that was consistently hitting. The other thing about Larry Bird was his level of competition going up against the Lakers. You got to think, by the time Larry Bird got to the Pistons, Larry Bird back was fucked up. He was half the player that he was. When you go back and look at Larry Bird and them motherfuckers doing the run with the Lakers when they was going back and forth, Larry Bird was the fucking truth when it came to shooting. When it came to being a big man shooting, right? Your Dale Ellis's, your Mark Price. None of those guys were a dime a dozen. Right. So you gotta give that Rodman might have said that just to piss them off or to get up under their skin because he was a genius at doing that. Rodman was a mastermind at fucking with players. When I saw him get under the skin of Shaq in that series, when I saw him do that when the Bulls played the Magic and he stuck Shaq and got in Shaq's head and got Shaq off his game where Shaq was ready to motherfucking fight, I said this dude's a fucking genius. He's one of the best motherfucking big men, best defenders of all time. He was able to get into the mind of a dude that was 300 pounds, 7'2". And he what? 6'9", solid 240.
At best.
At best. And he was able to get in the mind of Diesel to where Diesel was ready to fight this dude on the court. He wanted to fight him. That play.
Remember what he did against Seattle?
That play that broke the camel's back when Dennis Rodman was hand checking him and like put his hands on his ass. And Shaq was ready to fight that nigga. Shaq was ready to fight that nigga like, nah, fuck this. We about to fight this nigga pat me on my ass.
I think all that stuff he did, man. Yeah, he knew that he was he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing. He had worn the dress already. And I've never heard of Dennis Rodman sleeping with no dude. I've heard of him sleeping with a lot of
he has some fine females too.
But I've never heard of him sleeping with no dudes. But he did that shit to fuck with his head.
Yeah,
man, he got painted fingernails and shit, and he
marrying himself. I mean,
eyeliner. He was doing all that shit from
I
the
mean,
80s.
you got to think. That dude do something to you, man. When you see this dude in a wedding
Yeah,
dress the night before, now he playing you and he putting his hand on your butt. He's like, wait a minute now. All of a
exactly.
sudden you freeze and all of a sudden the ball's going the other way. You're like, damn it. I
Exactly.
mean, so all
Exactly.
right, man. Hey, man, I really appreciate you letting me on, man.
Yeah,
I
thanks,
enjoyed it.
dude.
I enjoy your show.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for calling in. That's what's up.
All right, brother.
Yep, later. But yeah, man, I'm telling you, man, that was really a true testament to how good he was. He literally was able to get into the minds of his opponents. He did it to Karl Malone. Fuck Karl Malone head up. He did, and these were people that were literally bigger than him and way more as an offensive threat, dominated the dude. But he had D. He stayed right there with you. He had the physicality. He was there. He didn't mind giving your ass a hard foul. He made you think twice about what you were going to do when you played against him. So that's just what it was. But I just wanted to say, like, as far as the whole walking off the court thing and doing that, regardless of what the Celtics did to you, y'all were the bad boys. The Celtics were the Celtics. Y'all were the bad boys. Y'all were y'all in y'all own right, fresh up off of y'all second championship. Y'all were established. Y'all didn't have to prove nothing to nobody, and y'all didn't have to behave or treat anybody like y'all got treated. Y'all did it y'all own way. That's why they called y'all the bad boys. They didn't attribute y'all success to the Celtics. They didn't say, had it not been for the Celtics, y'all wouldn't have been who y'all was. Y'all came in and did y'all thing, and y'all went and beat them just like the Bulls came in and beat y'all. So I'm not going to ever give y'all any more credit than any other team that played against the Bulls that year, the year before, 5 years before. I'm not going to attribute any more success of the Bulls to y'all. Y'all didn't make them. You didn't. And like I said, the fact that y'all walked off the court, y'all didn't have to do that. Y'all were sore losers. Y'all had already beaten them 2 years prior. Why not shake their hands and say, hey, man, y'all done came up. Third time's a charm, I see, huh? Good game. We got our rings. We got our trophies. Good game, guys. Good game, Mike. Good game, Scotty. You see Dennis stayed. You see John Sally stayed. I want to say Buda Edwards stayed too. But there were quite a few that stayed. But two of your most popular players, or your two of your best starters, Lambeer and Zeke, they were the ones that marched off. Fuck them bench players. Fuck the role players. Y'all are the starters. Y'all are the team. Them first 6 or 7 players, y'all the squad. So the fact that y'all walked off, that was some whole ass shit. All those other, if you got other players, if all y'all didn't get up and wait till the time was over and then y'all walked off, okay, cool. Yeah, all right, you got it. But that ain't what happened. That is not what happened. Y'all got up, it was still time on the clock. Yeah, we out of here, man. Yeah, Dumas stayed too. So you got Dumas that stayed. You got Sally that stayed. You got Rodman that stayed. I thought Rodman stayed too. If I'm not mistaken, I thought he stayed too. But that was mainly Isaiah and Lambeer. Walked off on some mad shit. That shit was whack.
Pleased to welcome in a man of whom it could be said 4 rings, 3 teams, 3 decades, 2 millenniums. I don't know. You might be one of one in that class, John Sally. How are you? Everybody's good?
Everybody is good. What's up with you, Scotty? Nice head you got there.
Yeah, you know, I caught up to you. I caught up to you in the end. Listen, I'm grateful for you to take the time and share your perspective of this, because you have a unique insight into all of it, really. And I debated all day, John, whether I was going to start here, and I just said, the heck with it. Let's dive in the deep end. Horace Grant called the guys that didn't shake hands straight up bitches. You were on the floor shaking hands. What happened there in the very end? The Bulls finally get through the Pistons. You were actually out there showing respect, but not everybody did.
Well, this is the deal. It's funny. The Celtics walked off the court when Adrian Dantley was on the line as they were handing us the torch as Eastern Conference Championship. No one said anything to Larry Bird, Danny Ainge, Robert Parrish. And even when McHale walked away, he only gave Isaiah a pound.
Mm-hmm.
And no one said anything. They walked out. So Bill Laimbeer said, let's hand him the torch the same way the Celtics handed it to us.
That's Mark Aguirre.
I understand that, Michael's my frat brother,
Mark
my guy,
from Chicago.
Horace and Scotty and I trading tickets. I was like, nah, Chuck, you need to put me back in the game because I don't think I want to be a part of what's happening. And in hindsight, it would have changed everything.
So that's really fascinating. You asked to go back in the game because you didn't want to walk off?
I didn't want to walk off. Chuck Daly thought, yeah, Sal, you can't get any more points. Come on, let the guys play. And, I understood. I understood Bill. I still do understand where Bill was coming from. He keeps that. And as he always says, it's just business. Everybody else looked at it and took it personal, and they decided to come out and say things about us. But, we were essential to Michael Jordan becoming Michael Jordan. That's the way we need to look at it, right? We toughened him up. He got stronger because of us. Once you get through us, you can get through anything.
No question.
And that's how we handled it off.
No question. Well, look, Detroit had to get through Boston. Chicago had to get through Detroit, and ultimately they did. So help frame for me, John, where the line between respect and real hate, where was it? Because it sounds to me like maybe.
And again, if it was about toughness that had them lose last year, he would be correct. These motherfuckers is trying to take the shine from the Bulls. And that's all I wanted to point out. If it was about toughness as to why they lost the year before, he would be right. He would be right. But that ain't what it was. And when we won, it wasn't because we were tougher. It was the fact that we were just off the fucking meter better. We were better than them at everything. Shooting, passing, defense, speed. That's all it was. And that's why, because if you think about it like this, the Pistons didn't win by beating up everybody in the NBA. Them motherfuckers was good. They could shoot, they could pass, they had defense. Yes, their vibe was they were physical, but everybody was physical to some degree in the NBA. It was just a physical game back then. But it was not a thing to where we made him tough. Motherfucker, that ain't what won the game. Mentally, they stayed tough, but physically was only a part of it. That ain't why they lost the year before. Motherfuckers lost the year before because them motherfuckers couldn't finish. Scottie Pippen had a fucking migraine in Game 7. They had trouble competing with the Pistons. Everybody cried about hard fouls. Everybody did. Hard fouls was a part of the game. Michael Jordan is a part of the era to where he got fouls called for him just because he would go through and have contact. And even when he didn't have contact, he would get fouls. There were times when Michael Jordan said it himself that one time he drove to the hole and hit his own leg and got a foul call. That's just what it was. So the physical part of the game, it does matter. But that wasn't the focal point of it. That wasn't the center of it. They were a better fucking team altogether. Just like when the Pistons went through and beat the Celtics. That game was physical as fuck too. But the Pistons were just a better team, period. That's all. And if they were the most physical team, that wasn't the thing that won you the series. All of the teams before that, before the Bad Boys, they weren't the most physical that won. The Lakers were not the most physical team. That's why they won the championships. The Celtics were not the most physical team in the league. That's why they won the championship. because the Pistons were just as physical for 6 years before that. That foul call, that's all exact, Jerome, that's all debatable. You're right. I can't argue that. But in that case, you would say, well, they was more physical then, they should have won. No, that's just a part of the game. That's just like the shit they do now with the whole shoot the jump shot and kick my legs into the other player to get an offensive foul call so I can shoot a 4-point to get a 4-point play. What do you do for that? Well, I got to keep getting my legs stronger so I can continue to kick my legs into people when I shoot. That made me, better. No, it's just a part of the game. It's some bullshit. But, yeah, Harden is on some bullshit. But they're not calling it. Why? Because it's exciting. People want to see a motherfucker shoot 33s. They want to see it. They want to see it. Exactly. The game is softer now. It's a lot softer now. So what do you attribute other teams winning for now? How do you say that? Well, because they didn't get beat up on, that's how the Golden State Warriors was able to win. Yeah, see? Or the fact that the Cavaliers was able to beat the Golden State Warriors that year, it wasn't because Draymond Green had missed that game. It wasn't because of that. It was just because of them being more physical than the Warriors. No. They outplayed them in them final minutes of that game. And I was rooting for the damn I was rooting for Golden State. And Draymond Green was not there, granted. Had he been there, probably would have been different. But motherfucker wasn't there, he wasn't there. Point is, they outplayed them in them final minutes of that game. From the block to the shot, all that shit. They got outplayed. You can tell me they ran out of gas. You can tell me they wasn't fast enough. You can tell me they wasn't strong enough. You can tell me they didn't have Draymond. Say whatever the fuck you want to say. They got outplayed. The Cleveland Cavaliers was playing on a whole nother level. And it wasn't because they lost to Golden State the year before. They were just the better team on that night. Yes, Joey, 10 series tend to have momentum shifts. A few plays here or a few play there or this play here can turn some shit on and turn some shit off. That's just what it is. So I'm going to say it again to wrap this up right at 2:30. That's what's up. I'm going to wrap this up by saying this. Were the Bulls, Chicago Bulls, whiners, or were the Detroit Pistons sore losers? I believe that the Bulls were winners. And they were going to win because they had gotten better. They had gotten faster, stronger, better offense, better defense. They were the better team. And the Detroit Pistons were sore losers because they got beat. And they got beat bad. It wasn't the fact that they had just lost. It was the way that they lost that made them take their ball and go home. Thank God that the Detroit Pistons didn't own the basketball, because they would have sure enough took it and walked off and went home. That's what hurt them Pistons. That's why they walked off the court. And that's why I call them sore losers. You got swept, homeboy. You got swept in your house. You can't never, ever, 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 ever live that down. Championship team getting swept in that house. Just like when the Orlando Magic went to the championship. They don't talk about that championship. You know why? Because them boys got swept. They got swept When you get swept like that, you don't win a game, you are literally just being dominated. And it ain't got shit to do with what happened the year before. It ain't got shit to do with what happened. All just like when they talked, just like when the Bulls lost to the Magic. Y'all remember that? Let me say this before I get out of here. Do y'all remember when the Bulls lost to the Orlando Magic? And what's that motherfucker's name from Chicago too, with his punk ass? Oh, I can't. Nick Anderson. Nick Anderson came on TV after they won, all celebrating. Nick Anderson said, Michael Jordan, that ain't the same Michael Jordan. He gone. He 45 ain't the same player that he was. That's what that motherfucker said. I will never forget that. Nick Anderson on TV, smiling, happy. We going to the ship, all that good shit. Yeah, you know, we came out, we played a good game, and, you know, it's just one of those things to where, you know, Michael number 45 just ain't the player that he was, that he used to be. Okay. You right. You got it. Mike and them didn't walk off the court. Mike didn't say that. Mike didn't say shit. You know what Mike did? Mike worked out. Everybody worked out with Mike. Everybody hooped with Mike that whole offseason. Yep. Nick Anderson should have kept his fucking mouth shut. But he thought he was on top of the world. They had Horace Grant. Yeah, they did. They all did. They felt good about themselves. They had Ho G, Shaq. What was the other dude? The 3-point dude. Dennis, was it Dennis Smith? Is that his name? Boy, they had Penny Hardaway. They had a whip. They was ready. Dennis Scott. There you go. They had a whip. Nick Anderson, Anthony Hardaway, Shaquille O'Neal, Horace Grant, and Dennis Scott. Man, you couldn't tell them boys shit down in Orlando. Fuck Miami. Orlando is the place to be. And he ran his mouth. And you know what that did? That didn't make Mike. Nick Anderson didn't make Mike. That was competition. He fueled the Jets. And that nigga took off. He fueled the fire. That's all he did. Poured a little more gas on it. Because Mike was coming back either way. And do you remember when Mike was playing, he still had the 45 joint on. He was still rocking the 45 and all that. Yup, 45 is back, you know, yup. Then one day, one night, in the United Center, there was a different jersey that came out. One day, we went and said, hey, man, I remember this clear as day. I said, is that Mike? Is that 23? Dude, I said, nigga, it's over. I said, this nigga back. I said, Mike got on 23 again. It's over. He back. And he was. And he was back. And went through them boys down in Orlando. Went through them. All that shit Horace Grant was talking, all that. Yup. I hear you. Here we come. Scotty, Mike, and Dennis went through them boys. And it wasn't the Orlando Magic made the Bulls better. No, sir. The Bulls got their shit together. Yes, they got swept. They swept that Magic squad. Yeah, that was it. It was over. That's when all them niggas left. It was over after that. That's what happened. So that's just another point of just saying, just because you have a bad loss or just because you lose at a time or against a team, it don't always be this one team or that one loss. is what makes you this team. It don't work like that. There's too many other things that go into play that make you a better team or a better player. Now, if you playing against or with somebody every day, day in, day out, then yes. Right. Byron Russell, same thing. Is it Byron or Brian? Whatever it is. That motherfucker got his ass shorted up too. Even Mike talked it just like that. Mike talked about that on his acceptance speech into the Hall of Fame. He said, I was playing baseball, nigga, and just so happened to see Brian Russell. And Byron Russell was talking shit and said, nigga, if I ever see you in some shorts, I'm coming at your ass. Don't let me catch you in no shorts. We hoop. If I ever see your ass in some shorts, we hooping and I'm going to kick your ass. Mike was in baseball uniform, nigga. Mike was ball. He was playing baseball then. Okay. Mike said a year later, 95, game 1 of the playoffs. I mean, of the NBA Finals against Byron Russell and the Utah Jazz. He went up to him and he said, hey, nigga, you remember what you said about if you ever catch me in some shorts, what you was going to do to me? Well, now's your chance. And what'd he do? Last shot. And that is probably the last shot Michael Jordan will take as a Chicago, you will ever see Michael Jordan take. He retired off his ass. The shot was made with Byron Russell. Byron Russell didn't make Magic that. Call it the push off, whatever the fuck you want to call it. The shot is what they call it. Made on Byron Russell. One man doing this with his hand, don't throw a nigga all the way the fuck off. You just don't. That's what you call creating separation. Just saying. I'm just saying. Hey, man, I hope that this video, I hope that this show was entertaining. I appreciate everybody for their comments, everybody that chimed in. Shout out to my nephew for coming on. You did great, nephew. I appreciate you, man. Everybody else that checked this out, leave me your comments, man, on the show. I know it's some Detroit people that's watching this that might be mad or gonna see this and be like, fuck Chicago, fuck Brad, and fuck the Bulls. I hear you. At the end of the day, we won't, as a world, talk about the 2 rings that y'all won in Detroit. Nobody remembers them. Nobody talks about them. 1989 and 1990. Hey, they were just years in the NBA. You have your rings. It is what it is. But 1991, 1992, 1993, 1996, 1997, and 1998 will forever be talked about when you talk about basketball. When you talk about the greatest team of all time, you will talk about the Bulls. They will be in the conversation. When you talk about the greatest player of all time, Michael Jordan will forever be in the conversation. When you talk about just the greatest coach of all time, Phil Jackson will always be in the conversation. Historic teams are made and forged by years of domination. Not flash in the pan, not championships back to back. Back to back is an expectation. 3-peats and multiple championships are what make legends. And the Bulls will forever be a legendary franchise. Michael Jordan will forever be a legendary player. Scottie Pippen, legendary. Dennis Rodman, legendary. Steve Kerr, legendary. Phil Jackson, legendary. History will always show the level of domination that the Bulls had. We dominated. There was no other. There was no contender. People don't even talk about the Houston Rockets 2 championships, and they went back to back. And you're right. I thank you for correcting me about the San Antonio Spurs. They didn't go back to back. The Spurs and the Pistons and the Heat won in between those two. They don't talk about those championships because they're just championships. When you have a three-peat, domination. That's why they talk about the Lakers. That's why they talk about the Bulls. That's why they talk about them Celtics. And they will forever talk about them. That is what you call the Mount Olympus of basketball. The Mount Rushmore of basketball will have those teams enshrined up there. The Lakers, the Bulls, the Celtics. That's your Mount Rushmore basketball. Sean Bradley is a better defender than Dennis Rodman. You know what, Titus? You cool as hell with me, but that goddamn comment, it ain't cool. That motherfucker said Sean Bradley is a better defender than Dennis Rodman. Delete. Exactly. And we gonna end the show with that. Thanks, everybody. Matter of fact, let me check and see if any donations. Y'all know I don't delete comments. But that was disrespectful to the motherfucker, Titus. Fuck that, Titus. I'm sorry. Oh, man. My man Enrique Torres hit your boy with $5. That's what's up. He said, love all you do. Hey, bro, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Diamond Q, I got you. Appreciate it, man. Oh, man. I'm sorry. I just couldn't. I couldn't let that shit ride, Titus. Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. I think that's it, man. Oh, man. That shit. That nigga said Sean Bradley. I love it, man. Hey, my man Grim hit your boy off with $10. Thank you so much, man. Hey, I will tell you this, Titus. Thank you for ending the show on a funny note. I thought I was going to end talking about that dynasty and the domination of the Bulls, but nigga, you gets it tonight. You the man. That nigga said Sean Bradley. The last thing I remember about Sean Bradley is to get dunked on by T-Mac. You right. I remember that shit. T-Mac dunked the shit out of Sean Bradley. Boy, I tell you, you gotta love it, man. If I had some time, I would pull up that clip, but I'm gonna get up out of here. Hey, guys, thank y'all so much. I appreciate everybody for checking out the show today. I tried to do something early so it wouldn't be up too late, but, man, it was fun. I enjoyed myself. Y'all click the like button, click the subscribe button. This is your first time watching. Peace, and I'm out. And one last thing. Fuck Sean Bradley.